Striking while the iron is hot is essential to staying on top in Hollywood. When someone does at their lowest, most vulnerable moment is what separates everyday people from superstars. However, Rachel McAdams' story starts far away in Canada in London, Ontario. Here, Rachel was raised by her parents, Lance and Sandra McAdams. Lance was a professional mover, and Sandra worked as a nurse. Rachel's always said her low-key upbringing far away from Hollywood is what she credits developing her sense of groundedness, loyalty, and privacy. From as early as the age of 4, Rachel excelled in the world of children's figure skating. Her parents even offered to move her to Toronto to pursue skating full-time. But Rachel was happy where she was with all of her friends. She valued her life that she was building. At such a young age, Rachel showed her preference for balance over just accelerating her career all the time. And this would be very telling of how her career would progress in the future. Now, this didn't mean Rachel turned a complete blind eye to the spotlight of Hollywood fame and glamour. Recently, she's revealed that around the time she turned 8 years old, she wrote a letter to her parents pleading to let her appear on Star Search. But Rachel realized quickly that she, quote, didn't possess any of the required skills to make it on that show. But she knew she wanted on that early on in her life. Around the time Rachel turned 12 is when she found the world of acting and theater. She began acting with the original Kids Theater Company, and this is where Rachel blossomed into the performer she is today. But don't get it twisted. Unlike nearly every other deep dive subject, Rachel wasn't pushed aggressively into figure skating or acting by her parents. They were her genuine interests as a child. And because Rachel was so laser focused on her craft, most of Rachel's childhood struggles were centered around honing her skills. Her discipline didn't come from her parents. It actually came from the very nature of the creative arts she was obsessed with. Rachel worked hard from a very early age to become not only the best figure skater she could be, but an amazing actress as well. But no matter how amazing Rachel got, her family was sure to help her preserve her childhood and not let her interests turn into work. Instead of being a professional figure skater, Rachel got a normal day job at McDonald's. This was really a character-building childhood for Rachel and was setting her up to be the type of star the entertainment industry hadn't seen in a very long time. The opportunity for Rachel to hit the ground running had been there since she was a young kid, but Rachel and her family alike wanted her to have a normal childhood over anything else. So in 2001, entrenched in young adulthood, Rachel would attend a New York University, and here she would earn her bachelor in fine arts. Rachel was now 23 years old, and her career was just now starting. She'd basically gone through artistic boot camp, and her teachers were seemingly leading her to victory. Rachel credits her drama teacher, Linda Pascal Pereira, and English teacher, Christopher Pereira, for completely changing the course of her life. And her life would truly transform. While Rachel had minor stage recognition in high school for her production of I Live in a Little Town, her first major entrance into the world of Hollywood came during her final semester of college. In spring break 2001, Rachel landed the MTV pilot Shotgun Love Dolls and even appeared in Disney Channel's original series, The Famous Jet Jackson. Rachel debuted in her first film this year as well, in My Name is Diana. Immediately, Rachel became one of Hollywood's most talked about newcomers, and the next year in 2002, her career officially began bumping under. The next year, Rachel would debut in Earth, Final Conflict, Guilt by Association, and The Matthew Shepard Story. All of these TV shows served as the building blocks for Rachel's ever-growing resume. She would never be offered the career-defining roles she starred in if she didn't expertly execute these smaller TV acting roles, creating the perfect portfolio. Now, many consider her breakout movie role to be The Hot Chick, a Freaky Friday-style movie where a teen girl switches bodies with a fully grown man. Now, this movie came out in 2002 and really showcased Rachel's ability to carry out a comedic role to the fullest extent. Speaking of smaller TV roles, one of Rachel's biggest fans definitely remember Slings and Arrows because that was her longest running TV show. And of course, her character of Katie Mab was very well loved. It's really interesting to me that she starred on this show from 2003 to 2005 because those were her pivotal years. Now, from 2001 to 2003, Rachel was countlessly auditioning for massive roles. And even though she was likely the best actress for the jobs she was auditioning for, because she hadn't had her massive break yet, and she was relying completely on resume, a lot of the roles she auditioned for went to big stars, even if Rachel had better acting chops. However, this would all change in 2004 when Rachel made the life-changing decision to audition for SNL comedian Tina Fey's new teen comedy she was working on, aptly titled Mean Girls. Now, believe it or not, Rachel initially auditioned for the part of Katie Heron, not expecting to get the part at all. To put that in perspective, she was auditioning for a major lead. and she'd still not had a major breakout role. Though her audition was incredible, director Mark Waters felt Rachel seemed a bit too mature for the part of a 17-year-old Katie Heron, a young homeschool student who moved from Africa to a new school. Meanwhile, straight out of the Disney Channel machine off of projects like Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and most importantly, Freaky Friday, a fresh, freckled-faced Lindsay Lohan auditioned for the part of Regina George. Now, it's important to note that director Mark Waters has said countless times that the movie Mean Girls was developed with Lindsay Lohan in mind as the character of Regina. When Tina Fey discovered the book Queen Bees and Wannabes in 2002 and approached Mark Waters to direct a comedy based on it, he was actively directing the hit movie Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. Over the course of this movie, Mark saw how dynamic Lindsay was and knew he had a big hit on his hands with Freaky Friday. Thus, when Tina said she envisioned Lindsay Lohan as the part of Regina, Mark Waters was happy to join the project. When Mark visited Lindsay on the set of Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen to talk to her about Mean Girls, Lindsay confided in Mark that she wanted to go for the part of Regina George because she was tired of playing the damaged and broken girl, and she wanted to be the cool girl on set for once. This was music to Mark Waters' ears, as Lindsay Lohan's tenacity and unapologetic personality in interviews read perfectly to him for the character of high school Queen Bee. Now, if you've seen our other videos about Lindsay Lohan, then you know at this time, Lindsay was embroiled in her very own Mean Girls drama with Hilary Duff. So she very realistically could have played the protagonist or antagonist. When they paired Rachel and Lindsay up for chemistry reads, they initially had Rachel read for the part of Katie Heron and Lindsay for the part of Regina George. The director noted that Lindsay was really intimidated by Rachel's intensity with the character of Katie. Rachel truly became the roles that she played. All those years and years of acting for fun had really paid off. Rachel was well equipped now to be the most prolific actress Hollywood has ever seen. But because Rachel was so mature and intimidating to Lindsay during her audition, Tina and Mark from the Mean Girls production team both felt she would make the character of Regina completely unforgettable. They also reportedly told her that she was, quote, too old for Katie, but perfect for Regina. On the other side of the coin, Lindsay's team was actively fighting party girl and mean girl rumors in Lindsay's real life. And Lindsay was naturally intimidated by Rachel's skill, so it would read as much more authentic if Rachel was the one terrorizing Lindsay. Thus, directly after the release of Freaky Friday, it was decided by the chairperson of Paramount at the time that it was too risky to cast a newly bankable teen like Lindsay Lohan as the role of villain. So Lindsay would be the main character of Katie Heron, and Rachel McAdams would transform into the iconic character of Regina George. Rachel has since said that she wanted into Mean Girls regardless. When she initially read the script for Mean Girls, she told her representation at the time that she would play any part in the movie. She didn't care. Just get her into Mean Girls, saying she loved Tina's script so much that she would even take a character with just one line.
Did you audition for Williams too? Was it that a process too?
Yeah, I auditioned for the Lindsay Lohan part.
Wild.
Yeah, and then Mark Waters said, all due respect, you are too old to play. I was 25. I was 25? 26? And I think Lindsay was, I think she turned 17 on that movie, because I remember going out for a birthday dinner.
What were you? Let's be real. Were you plastic?
I was not plastic. I didn't really have a group. Been a floater. Played sports, did drama.
So looking back, what would you have? You could have kids.
I think I always thought I wanted to be part of a popular group, but obviously it really wasn't my sensibility. I think I'm glad I stayed out.
It may have been decided that Lindsay wasn't perfect for Katie, but reportedly, Amanda Seyfried and Rachel McAdams were the final two in the running for the part of Regina. The directors then said that the choice agonized their team for weeks. Amanda's Regina was reportedly more ethereal and scary, but Rachel's was intimidating and upfront, and ultimately more impactful. This amazing attitude of wanting to play any character just to be in the movie propelled Rachel into playing the best Regina George possible. From September through November in 2003, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Seyfried, Lacey Chabert, and Rachel McAdams would make cult film history and finish principal photography for Mean Girls. And y'all, I know if you're watching this video, you are well aware that Rachel embodied this role on such a sophisticated level. Her exasperated and deadpan facial expressions, even her wild emotional scenes. My New Year's resolution was to not say this word in every single video and only save it for when it matters, because I think people use it a little too freely these days, but Rachel made the character of Regina George truly iconic. And I don't have to tell any of you, even though the movie has been absolutely dissected and oversaturated on YouTube, there are so many videos. Rachel McAdams as Regina George will never get old. You've seen me do multiple Mean Girls themed videos. Even this one, and Mean Girls still stands the test of time and just never gets boring. I mean, just look at her.
amends. We're friends who seek you. You call them freighters.
That's so gay. Listen, I was in an early screening of the show,
Oh, I'm
and
terrified.
you know,
Good
the
job.
theater was packed, and everything's going well, and then we get to the end, and I get hit by the bus, and everyone was so well behaved up until that point, and everyone just jumped up, like people were jumping up out of their seats, screaming and cheering. These like meaty guys in the front, like giving me like high fives, like Arsenio. I mean, and I was like,
That's not gonna work.
thinking, oh my god, I'll just take it as a compliment.
Yeah, well, it is a compliment because it's not you. You're just playing that character, but it's almost like playing the Wicked Witch.
I was dead.
Yeah.
I think Regina King feels directly from the soul of Rachel McAdams. And I think Regina was
Almost broke my
obviously
finger,
on the
but
board
I
for
got
High
it.
School Musical to pretty much any Disney Channel original movie past 2004. Anyway, on April 30th, 2004, Mean Girls released with a nearly $24 million opening weekend. For a $17 million movie, this was a major success, and it would go on to gross over $130 million worldwide. And it's still considered one of the biggest cult classic films of all time. Part of that is because it was introduced on Netflix right when
Holy
Netflix
shit, I can't
streaming
believe I just did
really
that.
blew up. Rachel would become a household name overnight. Audiences across the world were completely moved by her multiple.
I can't believe I just did that.
Regina, and the entire movie was an instant classic. And for obviously buzz for one of the oldest
I got my
films
fingers
of her
backwards,
entire
but I saved
career,
it.
Rachel would go
Thank
full
God for
force
the
in
love.
the movie industry, and subsequently her relationship.
Alright, now for the inside stuff.
While waiting for Mean Girls to release, Rachel would be contacted about a
my
massive
fingers.
romantic drama directed by Nicholas Sparks titled The Notebook. The novel became a bestseller in 1986, so the movie was a highly anticipated and familiar story. This made the casting process quintessential to how the film would be received, and it became one of the most infamous castings in Hollywood history. After Ryan Gosling was chosen for the part of Noah, the hunt for the perfect Ally would commence. For multiple weeks in early 2004, Hollywood starlets and talent agents alike made a mad dash for the part of Ally Hamilton. And I mean everyone who is anyone auditioned. Scarlett Johansson, Reese Witherspoon, Amy Adams, Mandy Moore, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jennifer Lawrence, Jessica Biel, Jamie Lee, Kate Winslet, Jared James, and most shockingly, the iconic Princess of Pop, Britney Spears. They all threw their hat into the ring, ferociously fighting tooth and nail for the role of Ally. Britney reportedly spending multiple 8-hour days with an acting coach and hours of chemistry reads with Ryan. And this was an amazing culture moment as the two have known each other since childhood on the Mickey Mouse Club. And Britney was fresh out of her relationship with other fellow Mouseketeer Justin Timberlake. It's important to note that Britney's audition tape for that movie was auctioned off on eBay in 2021 with a starting bid of $1 million. And the tape was widely circulated by 2023. Reportedly, Jennifer Lawrence, Reese Witherspoon, Jessica Biel, Jane McGregor, and Britney Spears were in the final stage of chemistry reads with Ryan Gosling. Which is wild because Jennifer Lawrence would have been really young. According to directors, she was only 13. And they said Reese Witherspoon was too old for the part. Jessica Biel explained that she did her audition completely covered in blood in her trailer from the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I auditioned for The Notebook, which was
Scooter clanked my
going
ankle
to be
so
the
hard.
greatest option for me in my career. What an amazing thing to get after that. And Ryan and the director came to my trailer. They came to us on location, and we auditioned in my trailer at work. And I didn't get it. Of course, we know this is the answer, but yeah, in my mind, I just remember having blood on me and being in that white tank top and took my cowboy hat off and was like, okay, I'd love to fall in love with you. Let's do this.
Jessica told Elle magazine, that's one that I wanted so badly. The director, Nick Cassavetes, put me through the ringer in an interesting, excitingly creative way. But there's a million that get away. We're gluttons for punishment. It's just rejection.
Jane McGregor was reportedly the actress Ryan Gosling wanted in the movie as his love interest. And she was high on everyone in the production's list, but her and Ryan ultimately couldn't, quote, get there. I don't know what happened. I guess maybe their chemistry wasn't as good as he thought. In the words of director Matthew Berry and Nick Cassavetes, when Rachel McAdams came in to read with Ryan, their chemistry was so immediate and their scenes so convincing that Rachel moved the casting directors to tears. Even though Rachel wasn't some huge marquee name like her competitors, she was such a strong actress and fit the part so well. She was perfect for the part of Ally. Directors noting that even though they did 10 separate chemistry reads with very well-known actresses with Ryan, Rachel came up out of nowhere with the
These
most
tables were
specified
$20.
chemistry with Ryan. Rachel recalled when she was reading for the part of Allie, the only feeling she could remember was that she knew deep down that her life was about to change forever. Saying, quote, I thought it would be a dream to be able to do it. I read the script and went to the audition just 2 days later. It was a good way to do it because I was very full of the story. Britney Spears recalled in her book that the final audition process came down to her and Rachel, and that she's glad that the part went to Rachel since she felt like acting had become psychologically destabilizing to her.
I have a film coming out in June called The Notebook.
That's what Brian got for me.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I've never asked about. And this movie's not that steamy, but there's a real affection that develops obviously on screen between the two of you. But you don't know each other when you begin a movie, right? And yet you're going to have to do love scenes together.
Yeah.
So how do you get to know one another?
Well, you just, you have love scenes in private time. That's not true.
No.
No.
But I mean, it's because it's sort of it makes you sort of mildly uncomfortable, I would think. But how are we going to do this? Do you sit down and have a conversation about it?
Sometimes, yeah. Most of the time we would have a conversation.
How are you going to do this? How am I going to do that? Or
Well, sort of.
what's your sign? Or you know,
Your
how
favorite
about the
color?
Knicks? I mean, what do you do?
What did we
I
do?
don't know. I think I was more nervous about it than she was. She was kind of, you were really comfortable.
I was. I mean,
Is that just
I
me, or
sort
is
of.
that
Yeah. I knew he was going to be a I mean, I was pretty sure he was going to be a gentleman, and you never know, but.
What would not being a gentleman be? He asked. Being a little bit more aggressive in the scene than you'd anticipated?
Oh, I don't know. I think you sort of have to jump in before you can jump out. So, you know, we did the first scene and we sort of said, you know, anything you're sort of worried about, anything you want to talk about, and we I think we were both sort of on the same page instinctively, and
I think what was interesting also about the way that we did the film was that we shot the last part first, and then we did the first part last, so we had an opportunity to sort of really connect.
we hit it off in terms of acting, you know, at the audition. It just worked. I mean, just something clicked, and you know, we just kept going from there and exploring it, and yeah.
Now, James Garner also told me something that Ryan then had to admit to, that when Ryan read the script, he was like, I love to last this long, kind of cheesy, can't really happen.
Yeah, he never expressed that to me, which is probably a good thing. That he, you know, but what I appreciated so much about Ryan's work and Nick in that perspective was that they tried not to go for total sentimentality all the time, and you know, tried to curb the cheese factor as much as they possibly could in making a love story. They were all about, you know, lifting this love off the screen and making it work, but at the same time they didn't fall into the traps of making a romance.
Anyway, after Rachel and Brian were selected for their respective roles, the production was off to a very rocky start. The two directors remembered calling each other a few days into the film process, confiding that it was a complete disaster. Director Matthew Barry even thought Rachel, quote, looked bad in the dallies before she settled in. He explains that the entire set was a big boys club, and that since Rachel was a brand new actress, she was somewhat isolated from the rest of the cast and crew. Matthew revealed that one day during filming, Brian begged him for a new female lead to read off camera with, because Rachel was, quote, giving him nothing. Director Nick Casaventes reportedly argued with Brian off camera about replacing Rachel altogether, and ultimately Brian decided to stick it out and trust the process with Rachel. And this is really important because multiple reports from the early audition process of The Notebook describe Rachel's chemistry with Brian as effortless, but I guess they just weren't instantly in love once the movie started filming. They had shared emotionally charged chemistry reads, but when it came time to fall in love on camera, Brian and Rachel genuinely struggled. It's just wild that arguably the most prolific romantic drama of all time started this rough.
Possibly someone like Ryan Gosling coming in now. I know famously you worked with him in The Notebook and possibly didn't see eye to eye. Is that something that was real?
Oh, yeah, that was it's an unfortunate bit of rumor, but yeah, I mean,
we certainly had intense creative conversations, but sorry, what was the question?
And while their chemistry eventually became a smoother process for both Ryan and Rachel, they didn't actually click off set of the movie while it was being filmed, which is wild to me because, spoiler alert, they did eventually get together in real life, but I'll get to that a little later in the video. Anyway, The Notebook starring Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams would open on June 24th, 2006 to $13.5 million, and it would eventually gross nearly $118 million internationally. Rachel was being exposed to teen, young adult, and even elderly audiences across the globe. She was defining the era of the Y2K chick flick. And honestly, Rachel's level of acting skill brought major credibility to all the Mean Girls and The Notebook. Mean Girls was an amazing ensemble cast filled to the brim with talented actresses. But Rachel would always push her characters over the edge and just bring the entire movie all the way there. She was the definition of a scene stealer. And I know this isn't news to any of you, but both the characters of Ali and Regina impacted film and TV to this very day. You can't scroll Netflix without seeing some Mean Girls ripoff or rom-com that is The Notebook with a new twist. And neither of these movies were the first of their category, but they are widely considered by pop culture enthusiasts to be some of the most classic and iconic films from the early 2000s. Because Rachel was the star of the defining rom-com and teen movie of the decade, she became one of the most highly talked about newcomer stars of 2004. Needless to say, this caused for the rest of the year to be packed full of filming movies for the next year. The first and most notable would be Wedding Crashers. The director said he chose Rachel McAdams for her ability to be serious in the face of comedy and wackiness. Also that she could be funny and charming while still feeling like a really real, authentic person. According to director David Dobkin, Claire was the most important female role in the movie. Because she was the emotional center of the story, the audience really had to believe that Owen Wilson's character would genuinely fall in love and change his entire outlook on life because of her. The director auditioned more than 200 actresses for the role before finding Rachel McAdams. But when he found her, he
Josh, your eyes. Okay. On the foot. You're so full of shit, Josh. Oh, maybe not. Yes, just a minute, bud. It was a bad idea to put all the jars in this. Ocean man, ocean man, take me by the hand.
so much in the
I'm
public
coming,
eye.
I'm
I was struggling
coming.
with that a little bit with the exposure. It did allow me to just find myself, center myself in it, and know I could live without it if I had to. If suddenly tomorrow they all decide, you suck, you can't be here anymore, you're out of the club. Well, I was the club first.
In 2006, Rachel would spend time with her family and take time off after the whirlwind experience she just had with all these massive movies. Would Rachel's momentum have picked up more if she stayed in the spotlight during this time? Maybe, but she knew what was best for herself. Who knows what could have happened if she just kept working deep into the burnout. As 2007 came around, rumors began spreading that Ryan and Rachel had called it quits. Ryan confirmed this notion in GQ magazine, saying, quote, "God bless the notebook. It introduced me to one of the great loves of my life. People do Rachel and me a disservice by assuming we were anything like the people in that movie. The only thing I remember about our breakup is that we both went down to sleep, and we called it a drop," end quote. Despite brief reconciliation rumors after this interview in 2007, their relationship would ultimately come to an end for good in 2008. Rachel was quoted echoing Ryan's statement about her, saying, "Ryan Gosling is one of the greatest loves of my life," end quote. Despite starring in Married Life and The Lucky Ones in 2007 and 2008, respectively, Rachel's big comeback after her hiatus was State of Play in 2009. This was also the year Rachel debuted in the massive reboot of Sherlock Holmes, which makes you think, did the guy who played Iron Man have a room for Rachel? Because her and Iron Man was Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, Rachel would truly solidify her rom-com status, starring alongside Channing Tatum in the hit 2012 movie The Vat. And for the next decade, Rachel would dominate Hollywood, starring in hit movie after hit movie, even joining the Marvel Universe with Doctor Strange and grossing nearly $1 billion. It was here Rachel had proved herself not only as an actress but also as Hollywood's mainstay who could take as much time off as she wants, always returning to a massive audience anxious.
Holy shit, dude. So I got one of my big refrigerator from the school bus. I did not end up moving the school bus today. Kind of, we just decided that it'd be better to leave it there. And then the bus can be supervised and stuff like that. Henry, nobody is going to take the bait. People in here aren't that stupid. They're not going to argue with you. You're going to argue with yourself. It was a paddleboard, actually. But my paddleboard is not one of those inflatable paddleboards. My paddleboard is the reason they invented inflatable paddleboards. My paddleboard is like 10 years old. Get that fly. Good job. My paddleboard weighs like 80 pounds, and it's so awkward if you don't have long arms to grab that spot in the middle. Poor thing is all scratched up.
Movie The Vat. And for the next decade, Rachel would dominate Hollywood.
What am I watching? Jennifer Lopez and a bunch of other guys.
Jennifer Lynn Lopez.
Oh my gosh, I think my keeper is ready.
In the Super Bowl with Shakira, for her many random collaborations with Pitbull, including that Pretty Okay.
No. You can't have it until after you're done.
Dancers because they were Virgos. Thank you, Mark Anthony. She's iconic in her own J-Lo way.
I think I'm gonna make it just vanilla flavored because I don't have any other flavorings.
That she gets married in, and you would think it's twice. Okay, maybe 4 times. But she gets married 8 times in her movies.
Yeah, but then also she's been like engaged like 5 times.
Probably, or 6.
She's probably worn a wedding dress more than about 13 times, and we thought that's kind of psychotic, but we thought that was worth making a video.
It wasn't about waiting. She was about, I want the job now. She lost the foot. She comes to us. She had a vision in mind. I don't think she was afraid. She was living her family wanted
Dirty
her to
sink?
take a different path in life.
No! Alright, I gotta load the dishwasher.
Let's start off with the first movie. People love people that run about this film.
No, surprisingly not. I think maybe if you'd taken a Chicano studies course or Hispanic, you would, but we didn't know about it.
The film is about 3 generations of Mexican Americans who immigrate from Mexico who are also trying to find their home in this new country. That, in a way, is kind of bringing them down. You showed me this Instagram video of what teen movies are like.
What the dialogue sounds like.
The Latinx movies are like.
Yes.
And this is one of those movies.
So, what is this about, Primito? Dime. Spit it out.
It's a really big problem, Primo. I can't find the solution.
It was produced by American Films, which is Francis Ford Coppola's company, directed by Gregory Nava. It was released in 1995, and this is one of her first theatrical films.
Yes.
And right off the bat,
She gets married like in the first 10 minutes, I would say, and then she's only in like the first 30 minutes of the movie. She literally just has 2 scenes. Her scene sets the hardship that it took to get like their family to the point that they're at.
Yeah.
She literally almost dies.
yeah, for a little bit more context to that, she came to America and started a family with her husband, and then there was this Great Depression came, and then I think the president at the time just kind of blamed Native Americans
As always.
to saying they're the reason why this situation, let's get them out of America to open up jobs that they're taking. And she was one of the people that was deported, and she's trying to go back home because
She already had like a son. She was expecting.
she took the risk. And J-Lo was that actor. She was the emotional connection to them immediately. This is a movie I really think everyone should watch from this whole entire list. And we're starting off with a banger.
I think it goes downhill from here, sadly. This is the most well-directed movie. Every performance here is really good.
Yeah.
It has Bail Organa from Star Wars, and he kills it in this movie.
Kills it. Kills it. Like, it was crazy.
Yes, it has some parts that you would need a tissue box for sure.
Yeah.
I think this set the bar too high for me. I kind of wish this was in the middle of our journey, because then I'd get like a breather, but no, it just like kept going downhill after this.
So our goal with watching all these movies too is to make it fun. We want to find like these connective threads. through
Parallels,
every-
cliches. Does she wear a wedding dress? Does she date a 6-foot tall white man who's a doctor?
And I think like what's really nice, like if anyone's ever played like Legend of Zelda, there's this concept of reincarnation. And I think J-Lo likes that thought that once they get married, their story's done, right? But I like the thought that every film is just J-Lo been reincarnated to get married, and it's just kind of like how everyone thinks how she would, if in a different life, how she would get married. When we get into the parallels of their lives and farewell, I kind of wonder if she thinks, is this me? Is this what I would go through? Do I enjoy this? Do I like
I think
this?
she, in general, just views her life like she's the main character of it. And I think when she's living through something, like she literally has a pause and she says, "This is so cinematic," or like, "This would be such a good album. It would probably make me sell a million records." Like, she for sure views everything in her life in that way.
She does.
I think she intentionally even marries people to then take back the engagement because it's zesty.
You're jumping ahead though. You're jumping ahead. We're not there yet. Who is J-Lo at this point, right?
Oh yeah,
Like J-Lo at this point, she was a dancer.
the young and inspiring dancer.
Yeah, she sang a little, she danced a little.
Jennifer was just 20 years old when she tried out for the Fly Girls, the dance squad for the Fox comedy series in Living Color.
So she was from the Bronx, and she was still in the Bronx.
Was it like a family of 3? She was the small, youngest
I think
daughter.
she was a middle daughter.
Middle
That's a
daughter.
very important detail because it really says a lot about why she is like that.
Something we want to highlight the relationship at this time. Like 9-year relationship. At the age of 15, she started. So we're going to this point.
She's a 10th grader.
That's someone's name. I think is it's not Cameron Diaz. Let's see.
I wish it was.
David Cruz. That was right. So she had a relationship with David Cruz. You know, starting off when she was 15 years old, and she goes into finally saying, "Let me give movies a shot."
David joined us together in '85. David was her one true love. When they were together, they were absolutely one person. And it wasn't like in a sickening way either. They were just dating Jen.
Miranda, just listen to me for a second. Why won't you listen to me? I was drunk. Don't you understand? What are you
It was like one word. She tried David and Jennifer and things like that. She was really crazy about him. think Jen's parents always wanted more for her than to just stay with one person and be that serious, only because Dave and Jen were young.
Her career is going somewhere.
Yes, but it hasn't popped off.
You know, she's at that point where she can travel, she has money, I'm gonna go to Miami. Yeah, she goes to Miami, and David Cruz, I think at this point, is like sniff, out. You know, he's a little stinky. She's 3 minutes out of that relationship, and she goes to Miami, and who does she see?
Jennifer at the time was also in love, and when Jennifer's in love, she's very happy.
Never from Cuba in Iraq a year before that, and Jennifer told me she'd met him at a restaurant. He was at the table. He didn't even know she was an actress.
They were really.
Do not go in the drawer. It's not for you.
Jennifer was behind was just a few feet away.
So they met in 1996. Why does this matter? Why does this matter? It does matter. Does it matter?
I don't know.
So they got together in 1996. He was a server at the restaurant. You know, they sparked it up. They give a little eyeball to each other. You know, there's a little magic in the air. And I think one thing led to another, and they went on a date. He's probably one of those, like, one of many guys who said when he laid eyes on her, he said, I want to marry her.
The 1 out of 5 men. Very unique.
Yeah, she's already in movies at this point. She was in a movie called Blood and Wine. I think they were just wrapping up. He says in the interview, there were many times I felt like Mr. Cinderella. He admits she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. In the beginning, I had no idea who she was.
He fell for the real J-Lo.
This is the real J-Lo.
She wasn't, you know, selling perfume. She wasn't selling clothing lines. She wasn't selling albums.
No, she saw something.
Jeez.
Right. In like 7 months.
The he was the first. They were the second. So they were having the red carpet. Mohani came with Lily and put the arm around her. And there was something funny that happened. So he said, I heard her say, Jack, I want you to meet my date Ohani. And I turned around and she was introducing me to Jack Nicholson.
If my date introduced me to Jack Torrance, I would.
Jack Torrance?
The Shining.
Oh, yeah. And he even talks about how crazy it is. He says, I felt like I was in a movie. A few years ago, I was in a dinghy running away from Fidel Castro, and now I'm on the red carpet.
The American dream. What can I say? Short-lived, but it did happen.
It did happen. He really had an American story. And I mean,
she did too.
I think she was kind of like an embodiment of that, right? Like she was kind of the embodiment of American story. The girl from the Bronx, you know, didn't have the money, didn't have the luxuries to be at that.
And now has too much of all of that.
So he said, after the premiere, we made love. And after he said this to him. I want you always to be in my life. I love you.
That didn't age well.
He said, I felt like Mr. Cinderella. Yeah, Mr. Cinderella.
For real.
I mean, if J-Lo, and you see like James Lakebeard, if we take out This Is Me Now, I mean, I'd be a Patty Twister too, if I went on a date with her.
The thing about J-Lo that makes her stand out is I think a lot of her career is so defined and kickstarted by how much tabloid attention she got. But it's pretty interesting to hear the perspective of people she was in relationships with, especially a couple decades later.
Yeah.
This video in the editing process might even add more of the praise of the updates, because every time I go on my Twitter, which has sadly been corrupted by J-Lo at this point, there are still updates. Bennifer divorced, but now they're seeing like. This might even be a 4-hour video with how many.
This is going to be a 4-hour video. Oh, I know your story's not done yet, but we're transitioning into Selena.
Bitty, bitty, bottom, bottom.
When we found out that Jennifer had been cast for the lead role of Selena, we're all very excited for her. And we found out that she was the first Latino to get over $1 million for a picture. This was a very example.
Her casting was actually a little bit controversial.
People were upset. How dare we put her to play Selena? I like it.
She had to prove herself within the community, and she had to prove herself in Hollywood. She had a lot of pressure on her.
And it should make you cry, but it didn't make him cry, so attack him in the comments, because this one got me. Selena, 1997, directed by Gregory Nava. I'm just going to start off by saying that Robert Eggert is like the #1 J-Lo fan.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect it, because, you know, he's been in the film industry business, especially critiquing it for like a century. Even if her movies are bad, he'll sound like a disappointed father. He's like, J-Lo, I know you got it. Like, why are you in a rom-com for the 7th time? I'm going to read a review from Robert Idris himself. He says, the teenage and adult Selena is played by Lopez in a star-making performance. Selena succeeds through Lopez's performance in evoking the magic of a sweet and talented young woman. And like Navas Mi Familia, it's insightful in portraying Mexican-American culture as a rich resource with its own flavor and character.
If this movie never came out, would J-Lo exist?
I mean, if you want to be more honest, if Selena Quintanilla never died, would J-Lo be J-Lo? Because she wouldn't even have this role if that didn't happen.
There's a lot of people whose life would have been completely changed. Like you
Selena
said.
Gomez, I say that, yeah.
J-Lo was portrayed of one another. Mariah tries to act like she doesn't even know who J-Lo is.
Before, and I think
Pretty funny.
it hasn't had that sense, Selena, to be honest.
It came out to be such a loving therapy to her.
She was the most beautiful to me. And as a person, that's what I think is really
This is one of the few films where her relationship with she marries is actually convincing, and I believe it.
Very young at that time. You know, they were younger. They got married when she was 20, you know, so that was a couple of years before. There was a youthfulness about it that was funny.
But why didn't we watch it? Because she does get married.
She does get married. Thank you.
There are no wedding dresses.
No.
I guess this wedding stands out from other ones because it's just her and her boyfriend Chris agreeing to get married secretly because she feels like, why not now?
One of the interviews that J-Lo had for this film, she was saying it's like a celebration for life, a celebration for the families. And I can really feel the energy of that concept. It's a celebration, right? And we don't want to focus on the fact that she did die in this horrible way.
There's a lot of tears on the set too, you know, you have to realize there was a lot of emotions, you know, Selena had just passed away, it's only 2 years now. In a situation like that, you can't help but bond with the people that are around you. And we were close to begin with, and then getting to know her family, Selena's family, and what they were all about, and learning about their loss and feeling that. It was all very intense.
When you finish, they're wrapping it up, they're hyped up, and then Ohani comes in. He comes in, and he said, I'm going to make history.
Our humble king.
And she rapped this incredible movie that the Dr. Cosby heard and she incredible fame. She's a wife that's working at in Hollywood. She's got a family and a friend. And then the dream gets down on me and it's just a oh my God. It's a perfect life. It doesn't
Thanks for the haunt.
The toxic cycle begins.
The toxic cycle begins with
We're still being haunted by till this day. Thank you, Ahani. Thank you for kickstarting J-Lo's addiction.
They got married in February 1997, and the people who came were Selena's family. They got married in his backyard in Miami.
Humble.
At that moment, when the wedding was happening, the relationship was already downhill. Yes, actually yes. And I have some quotes. And Guadalupe, please come in, Guadalupe. Guadalupe, J-Lo's mom, supposedly would call her constantly during the planning of the wedding. She was mad at her that it wasn't at Bronx. It wasn't at the Bronx. You know what I mean? Something's up.
Sorry, she wants to move on. Like, maybe the mom is why she keeps bringing the Bronx up. Maybe she wants to appease her mother.
Back to that Daily Mail. Jen would be in tears all the time. Her mom was calling and yelling at her to change the venue. So I called Lupe up. He didn't say up, but I called Lupe and said, you need to stop this. You need to stop this. That was a big mistake, he said.
Ooh.
From then
He's trying to
on...
put the fire down, but he poured oil instead.
Yes, from then on, there was contention between me and Lupe.
Not her being the monster-in-law that James Fonda plays.
It's getting weird. You know, like, they get married, Selena gets the golden nom, Sony's calling her up.
But as we all know...
Why is my lights keep flashing?
So,
not replaceable.
I don't know.
But we're not getting to the replaceable part yet. You know, this is a new era, 1997, 1998.
logical that she would have someone like him who knows managing her, somebody who knows stars, got all the connections.
Okay, let's make some water keeper. Some vanilla water keeper. I do wish I had,
the Latino thing has just started and it's been taking over the market. I mean, the records are crossing over.
You know, I'm a little tired of movies.
Super cloudy.
Let me go pass this around my demo and see what happens. and she got a multi-million-dollar deal from Sony.
Neil.
And that's all thanks to Sony's Tommy Mottola. During this time, Rouhani was in charge of the nightclub that J-Lo just opened up in New York. And she
And this
went
one.
out and did
Start
her
a new
album.
one.
She's gonna go say, see you later, I'm doing my thing.
She's working late because she's a singer.
Rouhani, during these lonely days after marriage, would be seeing pictures of P. Diddy, Sean Combs himself, with J-Lo. This is what J-Lo says. The reason why is that he was just helping me produce.
She means sus lately. Don't lie to me, Walt. Sussy baka.
He's helping me produce my stuff. Like, you're just overthinking it. So here's a quote. I rang Jan and asked why she was going out with him. And she said, it's just business. This is what I'm being told I have to do. He says, I was jealous. And I would scream, you are married.
So Miley Cyrus says, I can't be tamed. Accept it.
So Tommy Mottola needed P. Diddy. He was a famous producer at this time. He needed to get some tracks done, so I get it. And then there's a connection why. He's also from the Bronx. J-Lo's from the Bronx. Tommy Mottola's from the Bronx. There's a connection there. So during that time of around December, January, also, this is where the downfall is starting to begin. Yeah, her finishing the movie, getting married, getting the record deal, and then getting the nomination, then doing the interview. Now,
and then Ohai being like, Ohai being like, girl, where have you been?
So they're going for the red carpet. And you would think that her career exploding. No, her marriage is exploding. J-Lo and Holly were still together when they went to the Golden Globes red carpet. And this is what he says. We went to the Golden Globes and sat with Jack Nicholson. He said, you guys look so happy. I told him, it's not what it seems.
Everything is not what it seems. And that's how Alex Russo was born, and Selena Gomez's career kickstarted.
So he told me to hang in there. I never thought I would be getting a relationship advice by Jack Nicholson.
Clearly Jack was not the Yoda that he was looking for.
So sadly, she's not winning the Golden Globe. But, January 18th, it's a high point, but also a low point. She got the nominee, but she didn't get the award. And a couple days later, they announced a divorce.
Maybe Jack was what he needed to hear to go forward with the divorce. Maybe he had the opposite effect. He's like, Jack, I've been hanging in there for too long. I'm gonna let go.
11 months.
2 days, yeah.
So February 1st, the interview of Movie Line comes out. And people hate her. Like, hate.
I was burnt out. I was really burnt out. And it wasn't a good time.
That's fucking delicious.
It was bad timing for us to have fallen in love.
So let's get into the magazine that could have literally ruined J-Lo's career forever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, literally.
once I read you several quotes from it, you will understand why and why Mariah Carey chose to say I don't know her.
Was ist mit J-Lo?
Die kenne ich nicht. Oops. After reading some of these quotes, I don't think I know her either.
Yeah.
You think about people still referencing I don't know her all these years later. I still don't know her.
So J-Lo directly said, regarding Ohani, it's tough for me because the men I'm attracted to, for some reason, haven't gotten it together. Even my husband, I feel, has a lot of potential, but he's not at the point where, even though he has lots of contacts, even though he's doing his own thing, opening a club and restaurant here, whatever business he gets in, he's not going to make as much money as me. That's something he has to deal with and live with, which is tough for someone like him. So Ohani's calling himself Cinderella, but clearly he's with the stepsister. Because stepsister is mean. We married the middle child
Yeah, and this time it was what, December time, or let's say January, December time when she got interviewed for this, so they're still together. And like in the beginning of this,
Don't put your man down in the tabloids. Do that in your own time.
she put down literally everybody. But it's funny because like the way that this arc starts off, or this interview, is that she opens the door with I think a bikini still on or something like that, or.
She's always talking about her guitar body, by the way. Her guitar-shaped body. Okay, so first victim is Gwyneth Paltrow, who I also don't like, so I think this one was fun for me to read. Homegirl took the Oscar that should have gone to the actress in, Central Station. I'm forever gonna be butthurt over that. So regarding Miss Goop, she said, tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. Okay. J-Lo, sorry to say this, but you're about to be a hypocrite pretty soon because you are also going to be that with Ben Affleck till this damn day, and you also pushed that narrative forward yourself, so I'm just saying.
Yo.
You spoke too soon, sis.
Guys, I did it! I found the person that makes me the happiest I have ever been.
Next is Claire Danes, who most of us know from Romeo and Juliet. A good actress. Her emotional and inner life are available to her, which is a good start. But I feel like I see a lot of the same thing with every character she does. She's
going
on
on.
a U-turn though. Damn, so she's talking about a co-star.
Who's talking co-star?
She said good night and good morning to this girl for a couple months every day, and she's out here dropping first and last name.
Just finished the movie, you're like, oh, Jayla's so great. I just love I love her energy, hard worker. And you're reading this article, and she's like, what the fuck?
She's like, it's like Claire Danes. That's me.
She also talks about Salma Hayek.
Very good.
And
very unnecessary.
So for context with this, and I'm always going to say context, so Gregory Nava had an interview with Roger Ebert for, I think, the anniversary Selena, and he talked about, like, the casting moment, and that he had a dinner with Jennifer Lopez, Salma Hayek, and another two famous actresses that were going to be chosen. I'm forgetting the name. And he told them that you have a chance, but you have to understand that Selena she speaks with an American accent. One thing is for sure, Salma Hayek did not do it because she has too much of an accent. But this is what's funny, was that when I hear that interview, that means it's a fact, right? But in this interview, she says, we're in two different realms. This is about Salma Hayek. We're in two different realms. She's a sexy bombshell, and those are the kind of offers she does.
Says the woman that talks about her butt.
It makes me laugh when she says she got offered Selena, which was an outright lie. If that's what she does to get her publicity, then that's her thing. So then that goes to say, like, you're just kind of hating to hate.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
And, like, it's okay if you're competitive, but I think this one is, like, hating to hate. This kind of almost ruined her track record because the echo effect of this interview still bled into the future castings of everybody was kind of like scared of her.
She went from American Dream to American Nightmare.
Very well said.
Can I just say her excuse for her interview because it's funny?
Oh yeah.
So she later did apologize, thank you Jenny, but she says, I didn't realize that my words could impact people that way. You know, I was a nobody at that time. So I was still in that kind of fan mentality back in the Bronx.
It's always full circle.
With an orange drink.
It's full circle, always put back in the Bronx.
Ham and cheese on a roll, by the way.
My go-to order at the bodega was ham and cheese on a roll with an orange drink, if you know, you know, and a small bag of chips.
She practically said it's a prank. She was like, this is a prank. Like, I didn't mean this. You know, this is all a joke.
Yeah, it's a prank that I know will be in fine print, printed on physical magazines, sold on newsstands.
Yeah. She later regretted this nomination, breakup, divorce. She's been
record labels.
In the
she has no shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, she's no shoulder, but she even wrote, the guy even asked her, do you regret getting married with him? During the time they were married, let me just put that out. He asked, do you regret
this
getting
interview was
married?
low-key messy though.
Messy. But, she said, I shouldn't have gotten married so fast. This business is tougher for women who are doing better than men because men are raised to be supporters.
Okay, she made some points.
There's some points that
she made sense.
We still live with those sensibilities, and it's tough for me because the men I'm attracted to for some reason haven't got it together.
Starbucks. Yes. Chipotle. Yes. Sugar Pan.
She doesn't trust him, and he is a horrible.
Tommy Mottola.
When Orange is the New Black launched on Netflix in 2013 as one of the streamer's first original shows, no one could have foreseen that it would change the face of television forever, in the absolute best and the absolute worst way. Although Orange was hugely successful for Netflix, bringing in millions of subscribers around the world and earning over $1 billion, unlike other Netflix juggernaut shows, the cast of Orange did not share in this financial success. This caused massive tensions behind the scenes, and the tensions continued to escalate throughout the show's 7 seasons. And along with these rising issues between Netflix and the Orange is the New Black cast, troubles also developed between cast members. And as the show continued over the years and the cast grew each season, more and more cast members had problems with one another, and many of the behind-the-scenes problems blew up to such a degree that certain cast members exited the show, and many main cast were begging for Orange to end. Not only was the Orange set dealing with constant growing egos, cast infighting, and problems that grew with each season, Orange is the New Black also had to deal with the insertion and the non-stop meddling of the Church of Scientology. So that's what we're discussing today. What happened behind the scenes of Orange is the New Black. Later in the video, we'll be exploring the Church of Scientology's involvement with the show and how Scientology attempted to remove one of Orange's biggest stars. We'll also
Salt
be covering
actually
how
has
many people, including the actors themselves,
more of a
believe
thing than
Netflix
flavor.
completely screwed over Orange's
What the
cast
fuck?
and then used this decision as a foundation to continue on and exploit all television shows trying to make it in the modern streaming world. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack, and let's dive in to the messy, chaotic, and drama-filled world of the show that birthed binging and changed the face of television. Orange is the New Black. Today's video is sponsored by Balasa, but instead of the hard pitch, I'm going to tell you, 1, about a giveaway, and 2, about a funny story about how, despite Balasa asking me to work with them since my original channel, which, thank you, it was all an elaborate ruse to get to who we all know is the real star of this channel, Miss G. Balasa has a new pet policy for their adult products and toys, and I suspect this pet policy is more aimed at dogs, but that's how big of a celebrity G is. She's like the Meryl Streep of cats. She can do anything. I will leave the link down below for the giveaway. Balasa are literally sending out free toys or gift cards for toys to everyone who signs up for the giveaway in the description box and pinned comment. When Balasa reached out to me, a big factor in me saying yes to potentially working with them was the fact that Balasa is very inclusive of the LGBT community. Balasa has products geared towards the community, and they also have products that are fit for everyone, no matter body, shape, size, couples, preference. They cover everyone. Balasa wanted to work with Little G because
It's crazy, I literally have everything I need.
Where if you have any of your pets get into any of the products that you purchase from Balasa, they will send you a completely new product with the only payment being a picture of your cute pet. Thank you so much to Balasa for sponsoring this video and keeping Little G in the lifestyle she's become accustomed to. Now we're going to get into all the behind the scenes of Orange is the New Black, which, what a fitting video for a Balasa sponsorship. Thank you so much for your time, guys, and back to the video. In 2016, when the 4th season of Orange is the New Black was about to be released, Ted Sarandos, who was then the chief content officer of Netflix and is the present-day CEO of Netflix, had a party at his house, and all of the cast from Orange is the New Black was invited, and a lot of the other cast and crew from other Netflix original shows. Up until that point, the cast of Orange knew that the show was very successful, even though the vast majority of the cast weren't being paid as though it was. The show had even won multiple awards, Emmys, SAG Awards. They were recognized constantly in public on talk shows and all manner of things that signal you are on a successful TV show. Despite this fact, though, many of the cast were being recognized at their real-world jobs that they had to keep to supplement their income with what they were getting from Orange. And this is despite the fact that every summer in June or July between 2013 and 2019, Orange is the New Black would be a worldwide phenomenon as everybody binged the show when it came out. The cast didn't know quantifiably how successful Orange was, though, as Netflix don't release their numbers, and they've been very secretive about how successful the show had been. And they definitely didn't understand just how many people were watching the show and how much money Orange was bringing in for Netflix. That was up until this party at Ted Sarandis' house, and when he gave the, what was later dubbed the Whoops celebratory speech, where he revealed a little bit too much information to the cast and crew. He got up to toast the show, the cast, and its success, and another season that was on the way, and getting a bit carried away in the moment at how successful the show was, he divulged that the show was not only bringing in over 105 million people, over 105 million people had watched at least one episode of Orange is the New Black in 2015, so I can't imagine what the number is now, and they definitely haven't released that. Sarandis also divulged that of those 105 million people, half had watched all of the episodes that were out at that point of Orange is the New Black. He ended his speech by saying more people watched Orange is the New Black than Game of Thrones, which was one of the biggest, if not the biggest show at the time, and HBO was paying most of the Game of Thrones cast $1 million an episode. Resentments had been building on the set of Orange is the New Black for quite a while due to the contracts and pay, as except for a few big names that were series regulars, the rest of the cast were being paid the lowest amount possible, and many of them were being paid day rates. This is the minimum amount that you can pay an actor per SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. Given how successful the show was and how much money Netflix was making from it, I don't think anyone would disagree with the fact that the cast were, for the most part, grossly underpaid. The year that Ted Sarandos made this speech in 2015, he made $22 million along with stock options and all of the other usual perks that you would get in that position. And that was all the while a lot of cast members were making the absolute minimum, and some later cast members that joined the show in the 3rd and 4th season even came out of pocket to join the show. That might sound like a crazy statement, but that's how little some cast members were being compensated, and we'll go over exact numbers and exactly how little some of them were being paid in just a minute, but first a tiny bit of background, which won't be an enormous amount because given how many people watch this show, I don't think that people need too much filling in because the vast majority of people will have seen or be very familiar with Orange is the New Black. As most people will be aware, Orange is the New Black, the TV series, is based on the book of the same name that was written by Piper Kerman, who based it on her experience going into prison herself. She was an executive producer and a consultant throughout the show's entire run, but the series does very much deviate from the book, especially after season 1. And the show did also feature her in every episode technically in the theme song, where all of the different faces are flashing on the screen and all of the women featured in the theme song are people who were formerly incarcerated. The very last face on the screen is Piper Kerman herself. The negotiations for the TV rights for Piper Kerman's book actually started before the book was even out. And it is, like the first season of the show, very loosely based on her entering prison, but there is a lot of things that differ. For example, in the real TV show Orange is the New Black, she enters prison and is in the same prison as Alex Voss, and in the real world, the character that Alex Voss is based on, her ex-girlfriend Catherine Cleary Walters, they weren't in the same prison together, although they did have a very, very brief time together when their trial was happening and they were in the same jail, but they barely had any interaction together whatsoever. There's a lot of other big deviations from Piper Kerman's real life. For example, in real life, she did actually stay with, marry, and have a child with Larry, Jason Biggs' character in the show, but a few seasons in, Larry was out of the picture. But mainly the biggest deviations from the book and the show is how small of a character Piper became, especially when it came to discussions of Orange is the New Black and how the show focused on people when the show continued on. There was actually a lot of discussion about how it was the wider cast and actors that were the really interesting parts of Orange is the New Black. And the show was an ensemble show when it started, but the cast really, really grew throughout the 7 seasons. And even when you look back on the first season, it's crazy to see that some of the people who became the biggest parts of the show and later became the most successful actors on the show and have gone on to be big stars, a lot of them didn't even start out as series regulars. Many of them started out as guest stars, and even people like Yuzu Aduba, she actually was only supposed to be in a few episodes of the first season, but the casting directors and the writers liked her so much, they wrote her into more episodes of season 1, and when the show came out, she absolutely stole the show and
that's
went on
why.
to get 2 Emmy Awards for her performance on the show. There were many different networks and showrunners that met with Piper Kerman for the TV adaptation, and some of the first thoughts were that the show would go to either HBO or Showtime. And when Jenji Cohen, the former showrunner of Weeds, which ran at Showtime, was given the showrunner role of Orange, a lot of people
I need to pay
thought
my
that
water
it was a
bill and I
no-brainer
need to
that
pay
Orange is the
my
New Black
electric
would go to
bill.
Showtime. But Showtime and HBO didn't end up getting the show.
Hello, hello. I'm not making anything right now. Definitely not a Rastafarian. Okay, no payment due yet. All right. What about the water bill? Should check my bank account. Hello. I need to pay my cable bill. Start receiving notifications. Okay. Oh crap. I wonder what I did with that. Where your water bill? Shit. I don't know what to do with it. Well, this isn't great. I swear it was on the floor. Ah! Gotta pay it by today. What a responsible girl I am. Okay. I'm gonna be right back. I have to use my I have to look for my bank account information. Oh, fuck, that's right. I can't use that one. Shit. Be right back again, sorry. enter this in manually. That's dumb. Heather. Okay. Water bill paid. What a big girl I am. I am so big. Look at me go. 'Cause I'm a grown up. Okay. Where's my cable company? Okay, like how do I pay my bill? Bill pay portal. Take me to my bill pay portal. Bill pay login. Pretty sure that I made one of these already. Oh, fucking look, bro. Bro. It worked! Oh my god, Heather, you're such a big girl! Oh my god, look at me go, dudes. I'm like literally over here fucking paying bills and shit. I was so worried that I wasn't gonna be able to do this. was so worried that I was gonna not make enough money, that I was gonna not be able to make enough money at one time or like save my money. And then when the bills came, I was gonna be like, oh my God, I don't have this money all at one time. But I've done a really good job. And I started a budget and I completely stopped eating out. I haven't eaten out. And I've been making everything at home from scratch. That is huge. Your payment has been submitted successfully. I officially have paid my internet bill. And so now I don't have to worry about any more bills for another 2 weeks. And then I have to pay my electric bill. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. And I'm not out of money right now. Oh my God, you know what we can do right now? Come with me and you'll see that I'm going to put together tables.
This is the Barbecue Counselor channel. I am a practicing attorney. I'm licensed in California. I've been practicing civil law for over 15 years. I specialize in federal court litigation. I have put together a little snazzy presentation on Bricks and Minifigs finances, and we'll talk about that. But as a caution, I'm not an accountant. So I'm looking at the finances from a litigator's perspective, from the perspective of someone who's assessing whether Bricks and Minifigs really does have a damages claim or not. So what I put up on the screen here is called the franchise renewal application. This is something that Bricks and Minifigs has to file with various states. It's called a franchise disclosure document. They have to file these every year. Most states have a requirement, if you're a franchise, that you have to file a franchise disclosure document, and it talks about their finances. There's a few things I want to talk about here. So first off, what is an audited financial? That means, and all major companies do this. Every so often, they hire an accounting firm. The accounting firm audits their books and then issues what's called an audited financial. And it's supposed to be financials that are reliable by the public. I'm looking at it from a litigation perspective and how Bricks and Minifigs will be able to prove their damages. So they filed a racketeering claim against Ben. They filed defamation claims. The amount of
Why do I need a
damages
book
they can
this
claim
thick to tell me to
is
screw the
going to
legs
be
on?
tied to what they can prove, what's called causation. What did Ben's alleged actions actually cause in damages? And so the problem that we have with the company, let's say their finances are very bad before any alleged wrongdoing by Ben. If their finances were already really bad and they continued to be bad, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to prove that Ben did anything. And that's the issue we've got here. Is we'll go through this, Bricks and Minifigs financials are terrible on paper. They're absolutely awful. The reason is that they're probably trying to hide assets. That may be very well and good if you're a defendant defending against a potential lawsuit, but it puts you in a horrible place if you're a plaintiff trying to prove damages. And they're gonna have a really hard time proving any kind of damages. First off, I don't think they're gonna win the lawsuit. But let's say they did win the lawsuit and they're trying to prove that they were harmed. They're going to have a hard time with this, and let's talk about this. So they've got about $1 million in cash. They've got another $1 million in accounts receivables, and they've got total current assets of about $3.7 million. Okay. But if we
That's
go
not
down to the
nearly as much
liabilities
money as they
line
technically
ledger,
should have.
they've got 1.1 million in accounts payable. So accounts payable is bills that are accrued expenses, unpaid bills. I'm not saying like delinquent bills, it's just, there's always a lag time between you get a bill and you pay a bill. 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is. So they've got $1 million of bills they've got to pay out. They've got $1 million of gift card liability, meaning people have bought gift cards, so they've gotten revenue for the gift cards, but those gift cards haven't been redeemed, so they have to pay out, they're gonna have to pay out inventory for the gift cards. Then they've got something called deferred revenue, 2.6, almost $2.7 million. Well, what's deferred revenue? That's all those franchise fees that they've gotten for like new franchisees, where they've paid the money up front and then haven't gotten the services for that. And so they can't claim that. It's a liability for them. So they've received a bunch of money but haven't earned that revenue. They're going to have to spend money to earn that revenue. So at the end of the day, that leaves them with total current liabilities of $5.4 million. That's more than the 3.7 million in current assets. Now there's other assets here, right? There's some right to use, there's some property and equipment and tangible assets, but none of that is cash. None of that is the state of the business. So if I'm a litigator representing a defendant against this particular plaintiff, I'm pointing out that their liabilities vastly exceed their cash on hand. That's not a good place to be for a business. They've got a total amount of stockholders' equity. So the equity, that's the people who own the business. What's the value of the company in terms of the stockholders? How much value do they have? Negative 621,000. That means this company has negative equity. It means it's less valuable than it was. It's not valuable at all. It's negative. Now, are there some accounting things going on here that have caused these numbers to be bad? Yes, I think so. I will trust the accountants who have told me that there's some legally mine style asset protection schemes going on here. The problem, though, is that from a litigation perspective, this looks like a company that's got no money. It's got no assets. It's in the red badly. So let's look at the statement of operations. This is where the numbers get even worse. So in 2025, so this is year-end numbers, they had 2.7 million in franchise fees, 5.2 million in royalty fees. So that's all the money they're getting from the franchisees. So they're completely dependent on that. They do have 4 million in product sales, but the vast amount of their income is dependent upon franchise and royalty fees from the franchises themselves. So if the franchises are not doing well because this PR disaster has impacted them, they're not going to have these numbers are going to plummet. Another thing I want to point out, so we've got $815,000 in advertising fees, and then we go down to the expenses side of things, $388,000 in advertising expenses. So the franchisees are paying over $750,000 for advertising, and Bricks and Minifigs is spending out less than $500,000 in actual advertising expenses. So franchisees pay a lot of money for advertising, and they're getting a lot less value in advertising. If I was a franchisee, that's something I'd be concerned with. Let's go back to the total revenue. So the total revenues, 13.1 million. Gross profit, that's the profit after you take out the cost of goods and services, or how much they've spent on products. So gross profit about 9.6 million, but their operating expenses are $9.7 million. So the gross profit that they had of 9.6 million is more than completely wiped out by their operating expenses. So this is a company that had a total net income of negative 66,914 in 2025. Well, that's close to zero. And some of the accountants would say, well, maybe they were pushing up their things like compensation, and we saw here compensation expenses 5.6 million. maybe a lot of that is going to the owners as a way to artificially reduce the net income. And that's true. Although one thing I'll point out is the year before, the net income was negative $215,000. Not a good picture. And again, there's the difference between how an accountant looks at things and how a litigator looks at things. A litigator is looking at these numbers and saying, this is a company that's been run terribly, whose finances are disastrous, and how much damage can they really have suffered from Ben when their own company was already horribly off. Let's talk about something else. Professional fees. $832,000 last year. Now, professional fees it will include accountants, but it'll also include lawyers. So I don't know what the breakdown of this is, but I'm willing to bet, based on the law firm that Briggs & Minifigs has hired, the lion's share of this annually is the lawyers. They're shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on their lawyers. Last year, $639,000. I'm sorry, well, the last year's reporting, so this is 2024 numbers, $639,000 in professional fees. This is a company that's spending a lot of money on lawyers. They're spending
Can't imagine
more than
why.
twice as much on lawyers and professional fees than they are on the advertising expenses for their franchisees. What we're looking at here is at the beginning of what's called the franchise disclosure document. This is after the audited financials, but this is a document that is publicly available to the potential franchisee, and it's something that the state governments require them to issue so that they can look, so that a franchisee can make an informed decision. Is this a company I want to get in bed with? And in here, so there's all sorts of interesting stuff, but special risks to consider about this franchise. So these are the things that the government tells the franchisor you have to disclose so that the franchisees can make informed decisions. There was an issue of some out-of-state dispute resolution, mandatory minimum payments, but here's the thing I really wanted to flag for folks. The franchisor's financial condition, as reflected in its financial statements, which we just looked at, calls into question the franchisor's financial ability to provide services and support you. This is a statement that the government has forced Bricks and Minifigs to make based on the state of their finances. So again, litigators and accountants look at things differently. Accountants look at this and think it's not necessarily as bad. The litigator looks at this and says, well, those numbers look really bad. Oh, and by the way, the government forced you to admit that your financial condition is so bad that it calls into question the franchisor's financial ability to provide services and support you. If I was on this case, this is a statement that I would be using at every deposition. I would be using at trial. I would be putting this in front of the jury, and I would be arguing there's
they're
no
all
way
different
all
colors.
these damages that they're claiming they suffered from Bricks and Minifigs, that's not anything that, I'm sorry, all those damages they claim are being suffered by Reckless Ben. No, this is a company that was poorly run. They're suffering massive, tremendous losses. They're shutting down franchisees. They cause their own PR messes. None of their harm was due to Reckless Ben. This was all pre-existing harm that they inflicted. I've made some charts, and we're going to look at how their financial supports and what some of their core metrics have changed over the last couple of years, both before and after the McNeff bought this company. So the first thing, so what I did is I looked at the franchise disclosure document going back a long time. I think the earliest financial score was 2015.
I want to make
charted this. First thing
shelves
I want to show
of
is
these
here's
cardboard
the-
boxes, so I am
the
reticent to
Bricks and
get rid of
Minifigs
them.
They're going to say, look, since 2015, and by the way, when we're looking at these documents, 2018, fiscal year 2018 is when the McNeffs took over. They're going to say that since they took over, revenue has grown essentially 26x. And so we're a tremendously successful business. Look how much our revenue has gone up. Well, revenue only tells you part of the story. It only tells you how much money's coming into the door. So they're really good at selling franchises. They're really good at collecting royalties from franchisees. But that only tells part of the story. It lost money every year since 2021. So here in 2015, so the old owners of the company, 2015, profitable. 2016, profitable. 2018, the McNeffs take over, still profitable. 2019, still profitable. 2020, it starts to get less profitable. And every year since 2021, significantly non-profitable. So after the McNeffs really, it takes a year or two for the transition to come into effect. Once it was really their plan that they're executing to, the company became tremendously unprofitable. Now, again, accountant will look at this and say, well, yeah, because they were, maybe they were shifting off profits through compensation or something like that. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the business that claims to have been injured by reckless Ben. And how much damage can a company really suffer if it's this unprofitable? This is the problem they've got, is they're just tremendously unprofitable. Here's the equity, the value to the owners of the company. How much value is in the company? Equity was okay, pretty low under the old owners, and then it was kind of medium. But then starting 2022 and afterwards, it just nosedived. This is a company whose equity has tanked. There's no profit, there's no value in its shares anymore. So again, if you're looking at this from the aspect of assessing damages, a chart like this becomes an exhibit at trial. This becomes something that each side will hire a financial accountant or a financial expert to talk about, alleged damages. This is what the defendant's expert puts up on the screen for a jury to see and say, look, they're trying to tell you they're so profitable, there's so much revenue, but look at what happened when they took over. This company they will argue that the McNeffs are just completely incompetent in running the business. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's what the argument will be. They'll say that they're completely incompetent. There was no injury that Reckless Ben caused. These people are horrible at running this business. They've run into the ground. That was the problem for all of their financial woes. Now, the other thing that's interesting is the per store sales. So the per store sales is how much revenue each store, on average, got. Now, it peaked in 2023, and it peaked at around, on average, a little under $600,000. So that's just revenue. So that means the average store in 2023 made about $600,000. Now, that's much higher after the McNeffs took over. Admittedly, that's much higher. The old owners, it was lower. The old owners, though, kept a profitable business. But since 2023, even that number started to go down. The profits per franchise have decreased year over year since 2023. So that's more evidence of bad management. Or at a minimum, that the harm, if they're trying to allege that the franchisees have been harmed through Reckless Ben, this is evidence that that's not true. That in fact, they were declining already. Compensation over year, it's been pretty mostly flat. 42 to 59% of its revenue is compensation. Not marketing. They're not putting it back into the business. They're not reinvesting in the franchisees. They're paying corporate employees. That's where they're taking all the money they get. And this is the number that I think is the most staggering. This goes back to the professional fees. So remember, professional fees includes accountants, it includes lawyers though. Now, under the old owners, they were paying less than $100,000 a year in professional fees. But since the McNeffs have taken over, the amount that's being spent on professional fees has skyrocketed. And I think that is due to lawyers. The reason why I think that is that you have to file these franchise disclosures. You have to do that audited accounting. You have to hire accountants every year. So I don't imagine that those expenses really went up that much. It's the lawyers where the money went, I think. And so it's gone up 30 times from $27K in 2015 to over $800,000 at the end of last year. That's just annually. They're spending so much money on lawyers, far more than they're spending on the marketing they need to make their franchises more expensive or more successful. Bottom line is if I'm a defense attorney on this case, I'm arguing that the decline, that to the extent Bricks and Minifigs is claiming that their finances were on the decline because of Reckless Ben, I'm going to say no. Their finances were on the decline starting 5 years ago, They've had negative equity for almost every year since the McNeffs took over. Their store revenue peaked years ago and have been declining since then. They've got negative equity. They've got net profit losses. This is a company that has got horrible. Its finances are in a disaster. So let me kind of put this all together. What does this mean for the litigation? I think that the ability of the plaintiffs to show actual harm or actual damages, going from even the acts they've alleged, I think is very difficult. I think they've got a real terrible time trying to prove any financial difficulties in 2026 after Ben pushed out his videos. That any of that was due to reckless Ben as opposed to just things that were already happening in the business. Thank you all for being here. But if you haven't yet, please like, please subscribe. If you feel so inclined, please sign up as a member. This is a brand new channel. I mean, it's less than a month old. We're growing. I'll just leave folks with one other thought. I do want to branch out. I don't want to be limited only to the bricks and minifigs scandal. So if there are other cases that I think are interesting that I should cover, let me know, because I'm actively looking for something else to cover. So. All right, folks, that's it. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend, and also happy belated 4th of July to everyone. Thanks.
They say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And if you happen to befriend Adam Sandler between 1984 and 1994, you would likely have a multi-billion-dollar box office resume. In this 10-year stretch, Adam basically met everyone he would end up working closely with on films for the rest of his 30-year career. This group helped Sandler dominate Hollywood, whether they were writing, producing, directing, or sharing the screen with him. You could argue that Adam Sandler does not like making new friends. The only people added to the Sandlerverse in the 2000s were Nick Swardson and Kevin James. And yeah, Adam is definitely a good guy, helping his buddy stay employed all these years, but he also needs them more than you realize. Comedy and cinema fans have been debating on whether or not Adam Sandler is funny since the 80s. However, even he knew he wasn't that funny, which is why he carefully crafted an army of yes men who were great at making Adam Sandler films, but wouldn't find much success without him. The real reason why Adam exploded into superstardom is actually more mysterious than you'd think. Today we are going to take a closer look into the Sandler squad who helped him build a Hollywood mediocre movie machine. That machine would lead to one of the most debated legacies of all time.
What keeps you in the game? It seems almost...
Oh, man, I was so crazy when I was young. I just thought, like, yeah, I'm going to be huge. I'm so psychotic.
Delusion. The dream of becoming a Hollywood star is often shut down by the people around you. They will call you crazy. You're never gonna make it, they'd say. Adam was delusional, but that's exactly what you need to be to succeed. From the moment he decided to be a comedian at age 17, he convinced as many people as he could to believe in his delusional dream. Adam arrived at New York University's Tisch School of the Arts in 1984, where he would be surrounded by thousands of other students pursuing artistic careers. His roommate, Tim Herlihy, would be the very first member of the Sandler Dream Team. Tim would go on to write Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer, The Waterboy, Mr. Deeds, Bedtime Stories, Pixels, Hubie Halloween, as well as working on multiple other Adam Sandler productions. Tim has also made his fair share of on-screen cameos, like the fireman in Mr. Deeds, or the bouncing kangaroo in Big Daddy. Every single creation that Tim has acted or produced in his entire career was for Sandler, which makes sense because he never intended on being in Hollywood. Tim Herlihy was actually an accountant, pursuing a law degree, and was never considered by his friends and family to be funny, but he was enamored by Adam's charisma. Tim said he was extremely outgoing, his mouth going a mile a minute, and funny and all over the place. It was kind of a sight to behold. As a fun hobby, Tim began writing jokes for Adam's stand-up comedy in their Brittany Hall dorm room. Adam would practice his one-liners to strangers in front of the coffee shop below his living quarters. As he got more confidence, he started hustling at comedy clubs, Pips, and Catch a Rising Star. But Adam and Tim were not funny enough to consistently get laughs from the comedy club crowd, so they decided to recruit another member to the Sandler squad to help write more material. Adam became intrigued by a young man called Frank Karachi who lived down the hall. Adam said at NYU he always frosted his hair. He had a mohawk. Girls loved him. He went to Dance Teria a lot. He went to a lot of cool clubs. He was the lord of the 80s. Frank aspired to write and direct films. He made short films in college and often had Adam star in them. He was the first person to direct Adam Sandler on a video production. Frank would go on to direct The Wedding Singer, The Waterboy, Click, Zookeeper, Here Comes the Boom, Blended, and The Ridiculous Six. In fact, the only movies Frank Coraci directed for the first 20 years were Sandler's projects. Frank recently stopped working with Sandler and just released his most critically acclaimed film of his entire career. Perhaps instead of goofy comedies, biographical documentaries were always his calling, and maybe working with Sandler was holding him back. Then again, if Sandler didn't consistently hire Frank to be his director, he might not have had a career to begin with. Plus, Adam and the gang loved to portray wacky side characters, and where would we be without Frank's portrayal of Bobby Boucher's dad, Roberto?
Bobby, it's me, your daddy, Roberto.
Daddy?
You know, I seen you on the ESPN when they was talking about you being drafted by the NFL.
Adam's routine in 1985 would be going to a comedy club on Monday, absolutely bomb, come back to the dorms and revise his material with Tim and Frank, and by Friday have figured out a way to make it better. His comedic persona was the everyman who makes relatable jokes enhanced with silly voices.
I can talk about wet dreams. You know, I'm young. Wet dreams kind of ruined my whole life, you know? There's only so many times you can tell your mother you lost your underwear.
Every NYC comic in the 80s knew to get recognized you had to perform at the comic strip. Comedy legends such as Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, and Robin Williams were a few of the many that laid their comedic foundations here. Adam was able to land himself an audition and immediately impress the booking agent, Lucien Hold. He was only 19 years old and I signed him up immediately. He had all clean stuff, very quirky, very cute. I thought, this guy is really good. It's interesting that Lucien described Sandler with quirky and cute instead of funny. It's evident that Adam had star power, or it factor, and sometimes it factor is unexplainable. You either have it or you don't. You will notice this becomes a trend in Adam's career. All of his friends talk about how they had a gut feeling about Adam. It wasn't necessarily that he was the funniest, they just knew he could be a star. But Adam thought he sucked.
I don't think I'm not as sharp as some of the other guys that we grew up with. And I wasn't as prepared when things went off.
In other words, you didn't memorize your stuff?
I tried to, but I would choke. I would choke memorizing my jokes, and I would panic, and I would see stars and stuff, and I was gulping up.
Sandler admits he wasn't the best at stand-up, but he knew it was necessary for him to learn if he wanted to have a career in comedy, film, and television. Luckily, he would meet a new funny friend, one who actually had interest in pursuing a comedy career. Alan Covert sat next to him in a history of comedy class at NYU, where they bonded over their love for the film Caddyshack. Adam invited Alan back to the Brittany Hall dorms and locked him in. Clear from the very beginning that Alan was always going to play the support role for Adam, whether it was on stage or on the screen. He created some extremely memorable characters like 10-Second Tom from 50 First Dates, as well as the frowsy caddy in Happy Gilmore.
All right, give me a club. I'll get it.
But Covert always felt like he had to prove himself.
Because back then, I was still like fighting. Like, they had to go like, no, Covert's funny. Like, look, I had to grow that beard just to be
the crazy mullet.
I was like, no, it'll be good. I'm the guy. I don't have to talk. Just let me be funny and look weird.
And when Alan finally got his opportunity to be the main character in a Sandler film, he crushed it. Grandma's Boy, produced by Happy Madison Productions, was about a 35-year-old stoner and video game tester who gets evicted and has to move in with his grandma and her two old lady roommates. The irreverent comedy only secured $6 million in the box office, but was able to make over $30 million in DVD sales. The numbers seem small, but they 6 times their investment. Plus, the Sandler fandom loved this film just as much as other classics.
I'm making bonbons.
Seems like an obvious sign
Chocolate
that
bonbons.
Covert had potential to be a strong lead, but he only got one other lead role after this in the film Strange Wilderness. After that, he continued to take a backseat and play supporting roles, like in Grown Ups 2, Bedtime Stories, Just Go With It. You could even argue his roles became less significant over the years. But why? Maybe he didn't want to be a star. Maybe he just liked supporting his buddy. Or maybe there just wasn't enough room for Adam to shine while Alan was on screen. Considering he has producer credits on nearly every Sandler film he has acted in, maybe behind the scenes is where the team agreed he should be. Plus, he has a $12 million net worth, so Whatever Adam says, eh? But Adam's grind and dedication to be great must not be understated. After securing his spot as a paid regular at the comic strip, he would still stand in the New York City subways performing covers of Beatles songs hoping to get tips from travelers. He got so confident with the guitar that he added it to his stand-up routine. In 1993, he signed a record deal with Warner Brothers. His debut comedy album, They're All Gonna Laugh at You, is actually 2 times platinum and was nominated for a Grammy. He even performed with a full band on his 1996 comedy tour, and has done countless singing performances throughout his career, with the most notable one being a song dedicated to his late friend Chris Farley.
You know what I'm talking about my friend Chris Farley.
It was also during Adam's time at the comic strip that he met Chris Rock. Rock was fresh off his first Hollywood film and just getting established in the NYC comedy scene when Sandler arrived. Chris saw Adam's act and thought he was hilarious.
And I'm watching him, and he does this joke about Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain once scored 100 points in a game. And Sandler does this joke. He goes, here's my impression of the coach of the other team. Who's got Wilt?
But Chris didn't become a part of Adam's team because he was a star in his own right, with way too much potential to help someone else. As they developed their acts together at the comic strip, they gained support from the club's owner, Richie Tienken. Richie introduced Adam to a talent manager named Barry Moss, who in 1987 was casting for The Cosby Show. Keep in mind, The Cosby Show was the highest viewed sitcom on television for 5 years straight, averaging around 38 million views per episode. Adam auditioned and landed a small role as Smitty in just 4 episodes. From there, he secured a consistent spot telling jokes on Remote Control, which was MTV's very first original non-musical program.
You know, I went to New York last week and I had a great time. It was a good time. I had one of these tour guys who really thought he knew everything, but he didn't know how to fly when I threw him off the Empire State Building. Ah!
Remote Control also hosted college tours around the country where Adam was invited to perform stand-up. He was becoming somewhat of a micro-celebrity, occasionally being recognized on the streets of New York City. Adam's resume was getting strong. He had a little bit of money saved up and got a taste of Hollywood, so he decided to move to Los Angeles to get that much closer to making it on the big screen. And on the West Coast, there was another small crew of comedians who were about to join the Sandler hype train. Rob Schneider was a few years older than Adam and had already been making noise in the comedy world. He just recently did a performance on David Letterman's Tonight Show, which was basically an early sign that you made it in the 80s. Schneider knew Adam was a buzzing comic, and even saw him and Chris Rock on the cover of a small comedy magazine called Comedy USA. So Rob was shocked one evening when he was performing a small LA show to see Adam Sandler take the stage.
When I saw his first show out there, and I was the only 2 people really laughing hard was me and him.
Really?
He was laughing at himself, and I was laughing, and I took him out for a beer afterwards, and I said, oh man, you're going to be huge.
Yet again, Adam was not dominating the crowd, but for some reason, another comic was immediately convinced he would be a star. Rob took him out for a beer after his set, and from there, he became a part of the Sandler network. Rob helping Adam would not be a waste, as he would create some of the most memorable side characters in the Sandlerverse, such as Ula in 50 First Dates, the Minister in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, and of course, the Townie in The Waterboy.
You can do it! Cut his head off!
However, critics didn't think Schneider was all that special. Schneider received a nomination at the Golden Raspberry Awards for the Worst Supporting Actor for his role as the delivery guy in Adam's most successful 90s movie, Big Daddy.
In your experience, was Sonny a good father to Julian?
Oh, yes. They make a terrific pair. They went together like lamb and tuna fish.
Lamb and tuna fish?
Maybe like spaghetti and meatball?
Sandler was the winner of the Worst Actor Raspberry Award for this film, and would go on to win 9 more Golden Raspberries throughout his career. He basically gets nominated for Worst Actor every time he releases a movie.
When the critics started hating me, I just felt bad for my family. I felt bad for the people who worked hard on the movies, you know, because I mean, I had so many great actors in the movies, and when we would get done shooting it, they would say to me, I think the critics are going to like this one, and I'd be like, oh, no. No, they're going to say bad things, and they're probably going to say bad things about you being in it.
But Big Daddy was a $235 million blockbuster hit, and Adam believed in Rob, and he was learning to ignore the critics. They immediately bounced back with Rob as the lead in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, which earned around $92 million in the box office. But this would be the most profitable film with Rob as a lead. One by one, every film with Rob as a lead would bring a smaller return on investment investment. The Animal, The Hot Chick, Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo, Benchwarmers, they kept the fandom satisfied, but none of them exploded in performance, leading Happy Madison, Adam's production company, to stop writing movies with Rob as the lead. Rob still believed in his capability of being a main character, but the 2 movies he released outside of Happy Madison's productions were utter failures, which kind of proves that without Sandler's team, he couldn't be successful. So he went back to playing support roles, which was fine until he wasn't invited to be in Grown Ups 2, Sandler's second most successful film to date. They're doing Grown Ups 2 without me. Mistake. They should have paid me a lot of money. Well, truthfully, I wasn't sure if I'd have my TV series, so it was an availability thing. But at the end of the day, they should have said, what money does Rob need? Rob was given 5 lead roles by Sandler, and dozens of support roles over the years. Despite critics relentlessly trashing his work, Sandler still gave him as much opportunity as he could. The moment Adam didn't bend over backwards for Schneider, he got angry and went to the media. This animosity led to Schneider not working with Sandler for years. They eventually mended their relationship in 2015 because Rob understood without Happy Madison, he wasn't finding success. Luckily, Sandler doesn't hold grudges because he never forgot how many favors Rob did for him early on in his career.
Everyone in this room tonight has made my life fun. People always would ask me, those bad reviews you get, how does that make you feel? Make you feel like shit? And I'd say, no, it really doesn't. I think the reason I get to say that didn't hurt me is because so many of you guys in this room made me feel great about what we've done together. And all my fellow comedians, actors, writers, collaborators, crew members, people on the streets, my family, my kids, my forever girl, Jackie, all make me feel like the critics didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So thank you for all that.
Schneider got Adam in at the Improv in the late 80s, which was the hot club for upcoming comedians in LA. At the Improv, Adam befriended comedian Judd Apatow. They even got an apartment together.
Adam's the next Eddie Murphy. You just knew it even when he was bombing. It wasn't like he was killing on stage and you thought that as a result of the success of his performances.
Right.
We found him hilarious. The crowds was hit and miss.
Oh, come on. I want to know what my consumption breakdown is.
Which led to everything that happened that you felt when he was in his early 20s. If anything, hotter because he had so much energy as a friend to make you laugh because he wasn't making movies. So all that energy that he's put into his career in the early days was just used on you at dinner.
What you are starting to see is how valuable it is to keep people around you that believe in you. Adam has now developed a network of comics and writers who all uplifted him and knew he was hilarious despite crowds of comedy fans not seeing the magic. Ironically, Judd only worked with Sandler once in his career. He would go on to produce tons of movies that you probably think are way funnier than any of Sandler's films. Judd produced Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Superbad, Step Brothers, Pineapple Express, Bridesmaids, and many other comedy classics. Maybe Judd had a higher standard for comedy and didn't like Sandler's vision for films, or maybe he was just focused on creating his own legacy. But while Sandler and Judd were living in that LA apartment together, Adam's buddy from NYU, Jack Giaraputo, crashed on their couch for 3 months after realizing he hated law school. Jack would go on to form Happy Madison Productions with Sandler and produce every single film Adam has ever created up until 2015 when he finally retired. But the other leader of the Sandlerverse entered Adam's life during his time at the Improv in the late 80s, David Spade. Spade was impressed with the same material that made Chris Rock a fan.
So I'm going to tell you one, and you tell me if this is how it goes.
Yes.
You said, you go, Wilt Chamberlain
I think
scored
I'm going to
100
make
points
myself
in one
rice
game, which is
pudding
true.
or something
Right.
like that
And he
for
goes,
dinner.
here's my impression of his team in the timeout in the huddle. Hey, Wilt, I'm open, dude. And then you go, here's the coach on the other team during the huddle. Who's covering Wilt? Stay on him, I believe he's hot.
That's right.
Yeah.
I believe he's hot. I know. I used to get so excited to say that joke because it was one of the few that worked.
It's interesting how a simple joke made some of the most promising comedians fully invested in Sandler. Aside from SNL, Dave's breakout role was alongside Chris Farley in the comedy classic Tommy Boy, which is actually rated higher than any of Sandler's comedy films. They released another buddy comedy, Black Sheep, the following year. Spade bounced around from movies to TVs to animated films in the late 90s and didn't end up formally working with Adam until 2001, where he was casted as the lead role in Joe Dirt, another Sandlerverse cult classic. Throughout his career, Spade didn't want to ride the coattails of Adam. Around 2006, he started working with him more closely, taking support roles in Grandma's Boy, The Benchwarmers, and of course, Grown Ups, where the whole squad came together. But he has a wide resume of sitcom roles, the most notable being on Just Shoot Me and Rules of Engagement, both highly rated series. He also voiced various animated characters over the years, but the most popular was Cusco in Emperor's New Groove. He also voiced the video game character Sparks, who was Spyro's dragonfly friend. He even did various commercials and hosted award shows. Clearly, David Spade is the one man we all agree definitely would have been successful even if he wasn't Adam Sandler's friend.
Well,
In fact,
yeah,
it's
he
actually
was on
Adam who was
SNL
lucky to be David Spade and Rob Schneider's friend, because they're the reason he got on Saturday Night Live in 1990. Comedian Dennis Miller was the anchor of SNL's Weekend Update segment. Weekend Update was their highest viewed program, and at the time, hosting it was an extremely coveted position in the comedy world. Miller scouted Spade and Schneider at the Improv and invited them to audition for SNL. They secured their spot as writers at the end of season 15 in 1990. Then Chris Rock and Chris Farley were added to the SNL team in season 16. With three of Sandler's comedy buddies advancing their careers in New York, Adam got a different opportunity to be the star in his very first film, Going Overboard. Going Overboard was about a bartender on a cruise ship who dreams of becoming a comedian. The movie never hit theaters and is considered by many to be the least funny film ever made. Luckily, his career would be saved when Schneider, Spade, and Rock convinced the SNL casting director to give Sandler a shot. He moved back to New York City and was added to the writing team in December of 1990. Sandler shared a tiny office with Chris Rock, Chris Farley, and David Spade. The crew felt like they finally made it.
The recipe
but Schneider
here
was
is
the
just
one
you
standing
take
out.
He was the first
uncooked
giant on our
rice.
show.
So I'm just gonna make it in a separate
Dennis
container.
Miller used to walk around going, Schneider man hit, and he kind of throw it in all our faces. Be like,
What do you guys
what
gotta
are you
come up
guys-
with something?
Yeah, Schneider man, that's all I hear about.
The guys would write jokes specifically designed for them, as they often relied on physical comedy. With Farley being the overweight maniac and Adam portraying goofy characters with silly accents, it didn't hit the same when anyone besides Sandler, Farley, or Spade delivered the jokes.
Why? Yes!
Landing a job on SNL is basically the best comedy cosign you can receive in the industry, so it becomes much easier to get business opportunities. Adam was landing movie roles left and right. He played Dink in the film Shakes the Clown, Carmine in Coneheads, then landed a primary role as Pip in Airheads. He met Steve Buscemi on the set of Airheads and would go on to cast Steve in over 10 films. Some of the fan favorite characters were the homeless man in Big Daddy or Crazy Eyes in Mr. Deeds.
Crazy eyes.
Hey,
How you doing, pal? I got your pizza for you just the way you like it.
oh, yes. French fries and Oreos. You know me all too well, Deeds.
But there was one man that Adam Sandler used as a go-to support role that ended up causing some major controversy. Peter Dante met Adam in 1992 while playing a game of one-on-one basketball at Gary Shandling's house. The two hit it off immediately. Peter would go on to have almost the exact same career path as Alan Covert, playing supporting roles and wacky side characters in various Happy Madison productions. He was the quarterback in The Waterboy.
Watch where you're going, needle dick.
The burnt-out friend in Mr. Deeds. He even got to co-star with Alan in Grandma's Boy. It seemed like Dante was a go-to side character for Sandler all the way up until Grown Ups 2. During the filming of Grown Ups 2, Adam made Peter live within a mile of him so they could play basketball every day, which was often 3 times per day. But one major mistake would end their friendship forever. In 2013, just after Grown Ups 2 released, Dante was checking into the JW Marriott Hotel in Santa Monica. According to the police report, the actor grew upset because he wanted a new room key and was not happy that staffers didn't recognize him as an actor. He then proceeded to call the black staff member the N-word as well as the F-slur, as well as lashing out at a Mexican ballet worker saying, "Do you know where you are? We don't need you." Someone from TMZ saw Dante strolling the streets days later and asked him about his belligerent antics.
At least according to this guy, he's gonna list all of his black friends for us.
I just know what you've done as ask Marcus Camby about me.
After doubling down on his racist remarks, he never worked in another Adam Sandler film ever again. For the past 10 years, Dante has been living the high life, seemingly strung out on drugs and alcohol as the lead singer of a failing reggae band performing dive bars in Southern California. His real life today is the exact persona depicted in his most popular film, Grandma's Boy. But Adam's comedic persona that he created on SNL in the 90s laid the foundation for his film career.
Hey, Canteen Boy, can I help you with something?
Not right now, Mr. McGrath. Just getting myself situated.
Oh, well, you know, I wouldn't want to rush you, canteen boy, because you're one crazy, wild man.
Whatever.
Hello. Let me water your plants.
Heather!
Please, while you're gone, let me water your plants. Go as Smiley Boy.
Hey, I'm Smiley Boy. Look at me. I got a big smile on my face. Now give me some candy. Turkey, turkey, dee.
He was never funny.
Dap. I eat turkey and I take a nap.
Adam met Tim Meadows in 1993, who would go on to
not
feature in a
funny.
handful of Happy
None of the
Madison
Adam Sandler
productions.
stuff is
By
funny.
93 and 94, Adam was now a permanent on-screen talent on SNL and even recruited his first
Money, leave
Sandler
my
Squad
candies,
member,
or
Tim
leave my-
Herlihy, to write for the show. But some people, like
Money,
Bill Murray,
leave the plant alone.
hated Adam's SNL material. Bill Murray was an SNL veteran, returning in 1993 to host, and wasn't very happy with the material he was seeing.
Which Bill Murray are you going to get? The nice Bill Murray? You're going to get the tough Bill Murray.
Yeah.
You know, he's super nice to fans. He wasn't very nice to us.
Interesting.
He hated us on Saturday Night Live when he hosted.
He did?
Wow. Absolutely hated us. Seething.
Saturday Night Live Season 20, which was the last season dominated by the Sandler crew, is up for debate as the worst season in the show's history. Because of the low ratings, NBC threatened to fire Lorne Michaels, who created and produced SNL since 1975. Sandler thought he was crushing it. I mean, him and his buddies thought the show was funny, but nobody else did, and it reflected in the viewership. SNL needed a fresh reset, so they fired Adam, Farley, Schneider, and Spade the following year.
I was fired.
That's funny because, like, actually, some of the Chris Farley episodes were some of the funniest ones.
Then I made over $4 billion at the box office. So I guess you could say I won.
Billy Madison released 2 months before Adam was fired from SNL. This was his first movie released through his own production company and secured a $16 million profit at the box office. Not only that, but the film became a cult classic, a part of American comedy culture. Getting fired from SNL was the best thing to ever happen to Adam Sandler. It was now 1995, he had momentum after a banger film, and had a network of more than a dozen comedians, writers, and actors who believed in his vision.
Was there a pivot point in your career where you just knew this is it? It's go time.
That's a good one, Nicky. Billy Madison is when we started going, come on, just all my buddies, we all got together and we're like, let's do what we think is funny.
Yeah.
And then we didn't stop doing it together, and we made a bunch of movies together, yeah.
From there, his process was very simple. Here's how I think of my scripts, Sandler jokes. I sit in my room, think up an idea, then I call up all my friends and they say, "That's awesome, you're the best." Although he was kidding here, this isn't really far from the truth. Adam is a true testament of how valuable being a leader is. He is also the product of someone who had friends who deeply cared about him and believed in him when he had nothing.
Definitely didn't have
Instead of leaving those people
anything
in
to
the
do
dust,
with the fact
he
that
designed his whole career around them,
his parents
making
were
sure
part
that
of
they
the
were able to
idea.
stay employed by creating formulaic comedy
Nope,
films with
not
bizarre
at
plots,
all.
stupid side characters,
Definitely
screaming,
not.
dad jokes,
Nothing
silly
to do with
songs,
his
then rinse and repeat for 30 years. And yeah, sure,
not
critics
how it
hated
works.
basically all of his films, but he doesn't have to listen to your criticism because he doesn't operate in your standards of quality. He clearly is a much better actor when pursuing serious roles, such as Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems. Yet he still doesn't care that critics are finally starting to praise his acting. He probably is only pursuing this next dramatic role in Spaceman because he knows comedy films are dead these days. Some people think Adam just surrounded himself with yes men, hacky comics who had nothing going for them, so they latched onto their golden ticket in Hollywood. And I'm not gonna lie, his early stand-up and most of the stuff that was on SNL, I probably wouldn't have seen the Adam Sandler hype, but they clearly saw something in him that we didn't, and they were right. He made $4 billion making silly movies with his best friends and family while traveling around the world. Seems like he lived the perfect life. Comedians notoriously hate award shows, and celebrities hate when comedians host them, because the comedians can't resist the opportunity to get on stage and belittle celebrities during their night of highest honor. But the fans love these spectacles because we get to sit back and watch the chaos.
Relax, I'm going to try and be nice. You're global megastars with amazing talent, most of you. A few of you just married well. You know who you are. We all do. We all do.
Today we are going to take a look at some of the funniest, most savage, and painfully awkward moments that have come from comedians at award shows, starting with Jerry Seinfeld, who exposed these ceremonies for what they truly are. Comedy legend Jerry Seinfeld bluntly explained his hatred for award shows while he accepted the Comedian Award presented by HBO in 2007.
You don't give awards to comedians. First of all, comedians don't need awards. Awards are for people that are looking for work. We're not looking for work.
Jerry opens with an interesting point. Comedians will not sell more tickets to their stand-up performances based on some pretentious award because being funny is subjective. However, in cinema, receiving an accolade will make producers and directors more interested in hiring an award-winning actor in future films for obvious creative and marketing reasons.
You know, I don't know why we're so fascinated with actors in this culture. They haven't got a thought in their stupid bedhead hairdo mini brains. Why? We must honor this man. Why? He pretended to be Bob Johnson. Playing dress up and pretend is not genius, ladies and gentlemen. It's not genius. Roll the cameras, put on these clothes, stand there ready, say what we told you to say. Fantastic. He did it. Give this man a huge golden trophy. He's a goddamn genius.
As an actor himself, I'm sure Jerry is just joking here. However, comedians are often writers, directors, producers, and performers of their own material. Ironically, it kind of makes them more deserving of these esteemed awards.
And secondly, and even more important, is your whole career as a comedian is about making fun of pretentious, high-minded, self-congratulatory BS events like this one. The whole feeling in this room of reverence and honoring is the exact opposite of everything I have wanted my life to be about.
Now, him clearly expressing disdain for these ceremonies might come as a surprise to you, but comedians before and after him have felt the exact same hatred, like Don Rickles, who paved the way for comedians after him to unapologetically say what's on their mind.
I am so excited to get this Cockamamie Award.
While you may think it's disrespectful to just make fun of an award you're being honored for, it's hard to take it seriously when there are so many award shows that you can't even keep track of them. You have the Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Grammys, Directors Guild of America Awards, the BAFTA Awards, Screen Actors Guild Awards, Producers Guild of America Awards, Writers Guild of America Awards, the Oscars, MTV Video Music Awards, BET Awards, American Music Awards, and that's not even all of them. These people spend more time celebrating than they do creating.
I get this wonderful TV Land Award, and whoever designed it is a moron.
Now, I'm sure you all know the typical structure of these events. One person will be the host of the entire night, but different celebrities will take the stage to present each award. Usually, these celebs read their lines off teleprompters, and often they are reading bad jokes that someone else wrote with terrible delivery.
We're here to present the VMA to the best group, and we love everything that has to do with groups. Yeah, group therapy, group hugs, groupies.
Very exciting for both of us because we're both on it.
It's a thrill to be matched.
Hello.
Closer than 2 blocks. Is here from behind the candelabra. Where are you, Matt?
Are you ready? Milk is a pretty incredible fluid if you think about it. crazy dog. Come on, dude. Come on. Hello. Time for bed. Look what I got for you right here. I got you a salmon easy. I got you a salmon sausage. Salmon sausage. I love the smell of rice. Literally love the smell of rice. Like white rice, the smell, or any rice actually. Brown rice smells pretty fucking good, but white rice specifically, the smell of it is so.
I set this aquarium in
good.
motion 270 days ago, and it has quickly become one of my favorites. It's a low-tech, no-filter ecosystem pond
What are you
tank
talking
that I
about?
built for guppies. We last observed it at
My dreads are
100 days
clean. You
old,
literally
when I
watched
performed
me dry my
maintenance
hair
and
last
added new
night.
Animals,
You
including
watched
more
me walk
guppies,
around here in a
shoal,
towel
pygmy
last
koi
night.
catfish, and shrimp. Excluding feeding and water top-offs, I haven't done anything since. With nature uninhibited for
Enjoy your
170
baldness, by the
days,
way, from
competition
overly
between the plants
maintaining
has
your hair,
become
by the way.
fierce, and the animals are absolutely thriving alongside others who snuck in. Needless to say, it's time to intervene once more.
And
Let's
no,
take a
I do
closer
not
look.
give dreadheads a bad rap. Dreadheads give me a bad rap because I get associated with everyone else and their personalities that have
The
dreadlocks.
first thing you'll notice is that the environment
So.
appears less manicured and wild. That's to be expected as it took on a life of its own. However, without
You're just a
a
fucking
hint of
troll
things,
that is,
some
for
life
whatever
has
reason,
thrived and some
can't
has
stop
not.
watching my
At
content.
least in regard to the
Doesn't
plant
make any sense to me.
To better
but
understand what's happened underwater, we should first
God-given
look at the
free will to
riparian
do what you
plants
will.
above the rim. Other than a few leaves that need to be trimmed, everything has taken exceptionally well. That's great news for the animals because these play a huge role in filtering the water, but bad news for the plants below. That's because these have first dibs on the light, and as they absorb nutrients from the water, they progressively obscure the light that the others need to grow. This is easily avoided with regular pruning, which I have not kept up with. Now, I've grown the majority of these in a riparian setting before, so I knew what to expect, though I am surprised by a few things. Syngonium is a vining plant. If given the opportunity, it stretches out, and I usually stop that through trimming. It sent vines all throughout the water with leaves growing upward. Some are even growing out of the tank. I think it looks amazing, but I can't allow this to continue or it will smother everything else. I also didn't expect the parrot's feather to take off as well as it has. What began as a simple experiment has now become part of the problem too. That's because all of this foliage at the water's surface is also blocking precious light from reaching the aquatic plants. All of this caused the Hygrophila connectophyta to perish,
Easy,
and left
Orly.
the Combamba and Wisteria in ruins. Meanwhile, the Hygrophila corymbosa avoided extinction above the
good.
rim, though it doesn't have much foliage underwater. The lack of light is a major factor, but dwindling nutrients have likely contributed as well. The plants made quick work of whatever was in the soil to begin with, and what remains, combined with what's added during feeding or from animal waste, isn't enough to sustain the volume, which is especially evident with heavy feeders like the lilies. There are also visible deficiencies on the Amazon swords and a few of the crypts. All that's to say, it's probably a good time to start supplementing with root tabs. Lighting and nutrients aside, more easygoing plants are still thriving. The Rotala carpet is doing its thing, moss has created a beautiful plume, Satch has taken over this corner, and my other experiment with dwarf hairgrass has proven successful as well. By no means is any of this bad. It's just an example of what happens when you don't regularly intervene. As for the animals, it's the complete opposite. All of them have settled nicely into this tank, flourishing to varying degrees. This began with bladder, trumpet, and ram's horn snails, all of which are still here. However, in the past few months, ram's horn snails have taken the lead, and I'm okay with that. Most are the standard brown coloration, with a few blues peppered in, one of which is massive. It's probably not quite full grown, but easily one of the largest I've ever produced in an aquarium. Speaking of blue, the shrimp population has boomed as well. Blue velvets were essentially MIA until recently. I was beginning to think they didn't make it, but I had to keep reminding myself to trust the process, remembering that shrimp prefer seasoned aquariums and find comfort in numbers. Then about a month ago, my patience finally paid off when I saw one during feeding. Every day since, there's been more and more, and now you can't look anywhere in the tank without seeing them. At this rate, I know it's only a matter of time before they'll have the largest population of any creature in here. Until then, the guppies have them beat. They're often spread out, so their numbers might not be apparent at first glance. Fish looking for a quiet place to retreat often go into the carpet of plants, which doubles as a nursery for fish fry to develop before venturing out. Of course, I see the tank every day, so I know they're in there, but I'm always surprised by their numbers. However, this new life is contrasted by the fact that guppies don't live forever, and the older ones are aging out. While sad, their passing creates an opportunity for the custodians who leave nothing behind. Additionally, over the 5 years I've been developing this group, I must have introduced my
I never do let them bother me. I'm gonna do me no matter what.
There's not much I can do about that now, and many of the fish look amazing, but I guess we could argue whether this is actually a
It's
guppy
just
aquarium
a
or
interesting,
not.
it's
That's
not
part
so
of the-
much like, there's no real curiosity on my part anymore, because I used to wonder, like, what motivates someone to behave in that way? But ultimately what I've realized is there's many factors and many things that motivate someone to behave that way. At the end of the day, it's not up to me to worry about. It's not my problem. It's not me behaving that way. So at the end of the day, I really don't have to understand it. It's not my job to understand it. And they don't deserve the time and energy that it would take me to understand them and empathize, sympathize, have grace, give them grace, etc., you know? They don't deserve my grace. So, I'm no longer curious. Now it's more so of a like, okay, I guess, if you really want to. Yeah, literally. As soon as someone's, it's funny too, because you can always tell the specific person who's saying something what their insecurity is, because that's like what they lead with. Like the thing that they call me out for is the thing that they are so worried someone's going to say something to them about. That's why it's always those fat, gross, cheesy men who are like, oh, I bet she stinks. It's like, it's probably your schmegma, bro. Your upper lip is stankin'. Wash your face in that dirty dick of yours. Maybe some of your fat rolls too. Really does make a difference, cleanliness. And then you won't have that skin rot. You won't stink and you won't itch. Powder yourself, for fuck's sake. Rice is yes. I made white rice with butter for dinner, and then for dessert I'm making rice pudding. I found a recipe online and then I'm just kind of like winging it. I don't really need recipes so much with things that aren't baking. Baking, I need more of like a stronger guideline. I fucking love rice so much. It's delicious.
The reason why I want to add
White
some more
rice,
fish.
brown rice,
I was
purple
also
rice,
surprised
black
to find that
rice,
scuds had
wild
taken up
type.
residence when I was documenting all of this. Had I seen them sooner, I likely would have been concerned for the shrimp because scuds typically outcompete them for resources. However, I'm certain they snuck in on some plants when I established the tank prior to even adding shrimp, and only now have become apparent. Clearly the shrimp populations are booming, and I doubt there's much I could do about them at this point if I wanted to anyway. There's also the pygmy cories, which were fun
Oh,
additions
Heather,
to the
you
tank.
fucking asshole.
At first they were inseparable, but have
Felt all the
gradually
way
become
behind.
less tight-knit, only occasionally shoaling
did.
as they had before.
It's never
I
done
suppose
that
that in
before,
a
but
safe
of course it did.
environment without any concern for predation, there's no need to stick together. Now with a better idea of what's going on in here, I'm going to do some maintenance before adding some new animals. I first had to address the plants above the rim to get better access to everything else. As I already said, the syngonium was quite overgrown. That's why I removed struggling leaves, those close to the light, and the vines in the water. These can be cut anywhere and they'll be fine, but I like to trim at the node just above the leaf, the part right here where the roots develop. Doing so produces robust cuttings for propagation and maintains the original plant's appearance. Once these ones develop roots in water, I'll move them into a pot in my office. The cotton candy fern, which initially had acclimation issues, is doing very well, with foliage spilling into the water. However, these sections wouldn't last very long like this, so I trimmed them, and unlike the Syngonium, they won't produce new plants. That's okay because one of my favorite plants to grow like this, the Hemigraphis, will. I trimmed the stems just above the leaves and put them back in the water to produce denser plants. I also snipped the Photonia and removed all of the parrot's feather. All of this allowed me to see into the water more clearly than I had in months. That's when I realized that the Kapamba wasn't as dilapidated as I thought. Most of the stems were stretched out to access light, but the leaves at the ends looked great. Even so, I trimmed and replanted them near the others.
Oh, hello,
I
and
also didn't care for the way that the sap
India
had spread
and
into other plants, especially
Alabama.
the
Wow, my
Rotala.
eyes won't
So I
look at the
combed
screen
through to
well.
relocate them to a bare spot in the back that never quite
Butters
filled
kind of
in.
look blurry.
I likely would have left the Rotala as is after that, but I wanted to fill the spot where the Pinitophyta was. With these tanks, there's always a degree of experimentation where some plants work and others don't, even if they had in similar setups before. Instead of trying to force something that I want to happen, I simply work with what's working once I know. Thankfully, the tank has been relatively free of algae to this point, except for small tufts that form on this rock. Thankfully, they're easy to remove, as were deficient leaves on the tiger lily and Amazon swords. This highlights the importance of trimming. Removing quote-unquote bad leaves forces the plants to grow new, pristine foliage instead of wasting their time preserving what's damaged. In contrast, removing all the debris with a tiny net is tedious and easily the part I enjoy the least. Now, I doubt it's apparent on video, but whatever biofilm or algae had formed on the glass significantly reduced visibility. I like to do all of that before the water change, so any waterborne debris is removed. This filter tube and sponge strainer apparatus literally is a lifesaver. Not only does it keep all of the animals safe, but I can keep working as it drains. Every time I do a video like this, I always get a lot of questions about the water I'm using. Thankfully, I'm on a well that's not treated with chemicals like chlorine, so it's safe for the animals directly out of the tap. Finally, I added about 30 root tabs to replenish nutrients. That may seem like a lot, but the tank occupies a large area relative to its volume. The vast majority of my tanks are pretty low tech, and I find that doing this a few times a year as things appear less vibrant helps a lot. By the following day, it was ready for some new friends. For me, part of the fun with guppies is just adding some random ones together and seeing what arises. That said, the oranges and reds always look amazing, so I made sure to have a few of those. While I was at it, I figured why not get a few more cories as well. Truthfully, I was hoping this would make them show a little bit more, but I wasn't banking on it, which is why the final edition was the Skull of Harlequin Rasbora. They looked great as they filled the aquarium, which had me hoping this was the right choice. This was also when I returned some of the parrot's feather. After the animals had time to settle into their new lives here in this aquarium, all was good and well. The cories sifted through the substrate as shrimp meticulously scrubbed the surfaces. Meanwhile, the happy-go-lucky guppies enjoyed their new Rasbora buddies, who unexpectedly kind of schooled together, even if that's not quite what I had imagined. While this tank was originally built for the guppies, for me, it embodies what I imagine an aquarium to be. A place where aquatic life can thrive carefree and bring joy to those on the outside. Even though this is an environment that I designed, I'm constantly surprised by what I find. That happens with other tanks too, but the scale of this one in contrast to the animals just feels different. It creates a sense of wonder that reminds me why I started keeping aquariums in the first place decades ago. The moments when I discovered things like the scuds, or when the shrimp began to emerge, never get old. My only complaint would probably be the lack of schooling, which I could force by adding something more aggressive. However, I feel that would detract from the joy I find here. The world is very loud, and as life gets more complicated, the simple joy of observing an aquarium full of creatures living carefree is a great reminder to make time for quiet moments. I think that's why this became one of my favorites. I'm not sure what I'll do with it next, if anything. Either way, I'm excited to see how it progresses and to share that with all of you. If you missed the original build, I've linked that up here, as well as the time I made a creek for a fishing spider I found in my bathroom. That's kind of foreshadowing to my next project. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Surplus Squad, take care and peace. The Black Neon Tetra is one of my favorite schooling nanofish. Watching their electric blue stripes flash through the water as they voraciously nip for food is a joy. While this group has thrived for years in the Crystal Mine Aquarium, I had the itch to create something new for them. An environment with greater biodiversity where I could see them better. My vision for that was a natural-looking, layered sunken cave system, smothered by roots designed to highlight their movement and beauty as they weave through hidden passages. There are a few reasons this all came to be. First, I wanted to dismantle their current home, but why? Well, let's take a closer look. It's been an enjoyable, fairly low-maintenance setup to have around, and 3 years later, it's still flourishing. The plant growth from the beginning till now is night and day, or maybe I should say day and night. I can't even remember the last time I trimmed anything, maybe about 6 months ago. All that matters is it looks wild now, which I quite enjoy. However, failing to prune the riparian plants above the rim has significantly shaded the aquatic world. Many of the leaves have browning edges as well, but that's alright. The foliage just doesn't look as good as it would have with maintenance. Even so, the root systems are immaculate and easily one of my favorite parts of the tank. After all, when I set it up, I included spiderwood for this very reason, imagining the two working together to create a cohesive look. Seeing that come to fruition did not disappoint, and besides looking amazing, the fish seemed to enjoy swimming through it too. Excluding the Java fern, which for whatever reason refuses to grow in my water, all of the aquatics did well. However, since I knew I'd be redoing this at some point soon, I've been pulling Anubias and crypts for other designs, so it's sparser than it has been in times past. Even with all the roots and plant coverage, I think the Tetra's favorite place is behind the rock formations. That's partly why I wanted to redo this. I was certain I could achieve a better balance with a more elaborate hardscape. Something that would allow them to continue retreating, yet in a way that they remain visible. Speaking of hidden fish, they can't hold a candle to the banjo catfish. After going into the tank, it burrowed into the sand, where it remained under the radar for nearly a year. It did eventually re-emerge though, and since then, I see it quite often. I suspect that the reason for that is because of the tetras. They've bred a few times, and only a few have grown up. The others, strangely disappeared, and I believe the catfish is the culprit. Additionally, this school has dwindled over time as the initial group from 2022 has aged out. Unfortunately, they only live for around 3 to 5 years, which is why I wanted to add more fish to the group. Now, the idea of having glowing quartz is an iteration of a concept I first explored in the Crystal Gems Aquarium and revised in the New Ancient Ruins tank. While I enjoyed it, I thought it was time to move on from the concept and focus on something more naturalistic. That brings me to another reason why I wanted to make something new: extra materials. There's no arguing that these fish look amazing with black lava rock, and I just so happen to have buckets of it from several decommissioned tanks, meaning that I could combine these with elements from their current tank to create a completely different hardscape. One that's more focused on fish activity than holding crystals. What I was imagining would also look amazing with all the roots and spiderwood, which I could theoretically move from here to the new design, thus achieving a seasoned look from go. Finally, an aquarium perfectly suited for the described vision just opened up, specifically the Beta Antuta aquarium from last year. I was tired of battling cyanobacteria in it, which you can see the remnants of here. Of course, the fish didn't seem to mind, and I moved all of the wild-type betas into other setups as part of a larger project anyway. I'm sure it's obvious what's going on here, but I'll let you fill in the blanks until that comes to full fruition. Now, with a solid idea of what I wanted to achieve, all I had to do was thoroughly clean this tank. It's a custom-built 22-gallon aquarium, measuring 36 inches wide, 12 inches deep, and 12 inches tall. The build process for that is all outlined in the previously mentioned beta video. When I set it up for that, I used these little puck lights. They do well and I like them, but given the height of the riparian plants from the other tank, I needed something else to accommodate them. My best
I
option
made my
ended
own
up being
chocolate
the
truffles!
adjustable mounts. With that, I could finally bring this idea to life. First, I set an egg crate foundation to prevent the stones from creating pressure points that could crack the glass.
Oh my
Maybe
god.
unnecessary with lava rock, but these large pieces do have some decent
I
weight
definitely
to
need to
them,
shake
so
off the
better
excess.
safe than sorry. I had originally used these for the living fern rock, then the minimalist mountainscape, and most recently, the no-filter guppy aquarium. Now they've become a key element for this design, which I think is pretty cool.
Wow!
The plan here was to build off of these with smaller stones and branches to create pass-throughs for the fish. The easiest way to create those pass-throughs was with the pointed end of the stone facing down. Yet this made it top-heavy, so I had to stabilize it with foam and a large piece of spider wood.
Okay, I got off some of the excess.
However, I didn't like how it looked, so I swapped it out for another, which was an improvement, though I had to do more rock work before it could stick. Besides that, this was one of those scapes that just kind of came together without much thought. Really, the only challenging part was elevating the larger stones on smaller ones.
I can't wait for Elliot to come home and try some.
The key was aligning similar textures to produce a stable structure.
I've got more chocolate
Then
to
I could
ball up.
reinstate the driftwood. It looked even better this time. I also slipped this smaller one below the rocks. These doubled as a platform for other stones to rest on.
Oh my god, that was
Again, my
so
entire
good.
idea behind this was for the branches to work together with the plant roots to create something intriguing and cohesive.
I decided I wanted chocolate, and I was like, don't want to just sit and
Before I
eat
could
like.
go beyond this point, I had to weather the flat
I just
end
want
of
to
this
sit here and
branch.
eat her like kisses or whatever they
After
are, it's
carefully
morsels.
pulling it from the scape, I clamped it in a vise and created a weathering effect.
I was like, I don't want to sit here and eat morsels. Like I want like real
Then I
candy
finalized
or
the
something,
look
like
with the
real
wire
chocolates.
brush drill.
So fuck it. I made my own.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and the girls, welcome to a follow-up on this morning's video. At the time that we recorded this morning's video, this post was not up on the Bricks and Minifigs Sarasota Facebook page. And because of some of the comments, I wanted to read and respond to this. So we'll read here, Bricks and Minifigs Sarasota, 8 hours ago. A message to our Sarasota community. Over the past several weeks, many of you have reached out, stopped by, sent messages, and checked in on our team. First and foremost, thank you. Bricks and Minifigs Sarasota has always been more than a store to us. It is a place built around creativity, families, collectors, kids discovering their imagination, and a community that shares a love for building.
I'm gonna make more of
We know there have been conversations happening online involving the broader Bricks and Minifigs system, and we understand that many of you have questions. While there are some topics that are best handled through the appropriate internal channels, we want to hear directly from us. Our commitment to you has not changed. We remain committed to treating every customer fairly and with respect. We remain committed to creating a welcome and positive experience for every builder who walks through our doors. We remain committed to supporting our team members and this amazing local community. We remain committed to helping strengthen the brand and the values that brought so many of us together. Like any growing organization, challenges create opportunities to listen, learn, improve, and become stronger. We believe progress happens through communication, collaboration, and a shared desire to do what is right. Today, tomorrow, and years from now, our mission remains the same, creating a place where everyone can connect, create, and build. Thanks for believing in our small business and being a part of the Sarasota
Not a
Bricks
small
and Minifigs
business.
family.
It's a fucking mega
Now,
corporation.
this message obviously very different from the one from this morning with the Association of Bricks and Minifigs franchisees, which apparently represented about 100 stores, 100 or more stores that were banding together to have a greater voice in the corporate structure, and so that post was removed. Now, we didn't know why the post was removed, but let's see if we can find the comment here. So they mentioned what happened to the original post. Thank you for sharing what happened to the original post by Eddie Groves. And they responded, "Hi Eddie, we complied with a request to remove the post." So I certainly appreciate the transparency there, but it kind of begs more questions, and also you have to wonder if it was it's definitely a thing. You know, I think this doesn't help the situation. And they do respond here further. I hear the feedback and understand why some people notice a difference in tone between the two posts. Our thoughts and opinions on this have not changed. However, we were advised to revise the follow-up post to ensure our message was clear, consistent, and aligned in a way that serves the broader audience. Both posts came from a place of honesty, and one was more personal, and the other more structured to provide reassurance and clarity for customers. We are frustrated as well with how this has unfolded, but we're continuing to focus on communicating as clearly and as reasonably as possible. Now,
Yeah, they got the call.
It's tough because I felt like that first post, and I mentioned this in the.
It smells delicious right now. It smells like fucking rice pudding.
At least as far as I can recall,
creamy
about
and
a half
cinnamon.
dozen,
That's what it smells like. It's really
similar
good right
posts.
now.
Obviously, not without saying, "Hey, we represent 100 stores," but there's been about a half dozen posts where these franchisees have really spoken out against corporate in a very direct way, and a lot of those posts, or many of those posts, seem to be removed. And obviously, as far as I've seen, none of these have none of these sources have responded and clarified that it was requested to be removed, and so there's kind of been this gray area in these posts. And so now this is the first confirmation, as far as I've seen, where a store is saying that that they were asked. It was let me get the exact wording here. It was a request to remove the post, and obviously, as mentioned in the first post, they are under a corporate structure. There are things that they can and can't do. But I would almost say it probably looks worse, in my opinion, for this to have been posted, removed, and then confirmed that it was requested to be removed. There's a lot of people saying that this is like an AI slot post, and I mean, we'll see if we can run this through an AI generator here. At least what I'm saying is perhaps not AI slop. But I think the anti-AI is a bit silly. I mean, obviously there's people on both sides
like
that
my mom
have
says.
very strong opinions.
I better find a rich guy to marry me. Because I'm too stupid to take care of myself.
I have yet to do a video on a happy, rich woman. Every video I do with women that grew up in the lap of luxury with a silver spoon in their mouths always end up with them being extremely depressed, having terrible childhoods, very lonely, isolated, and immensely insecure. At this point, I need to do a whole playlist for the poor little rich girls, right? Maybe I'll do that and I'll pin it in the comments so you guys can go check out these stories. I think I'll do that. Well, this story is no different. This is a story of just a broken little girl, wounded, that needed love, affection, and just people to really guide her path. And all of the mistakes that she did, you can somehow link them to her childhood and just a woman crying out for help. How did Tori Spelling end up living in an RV trailer home when her mother has like $500 million? How? How did she end up so broken and poor with her 5 children, homeless, telling the media and TMZ that I need a home when she grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth? In today's video, we will break that down and get to the bottom of it while also going over her childhood, her iconic career, because she was an it girl of the 90s, and her scandalous romances, as well as where she is now. What is she doing? But first, hey friend, welcome to my channel, Green Allude, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars through history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so. And if you're already subscribed, please turn on your notification bell so you
Turning a trampoline into an
I
ottoman?
got this mini tramp at Play It Again Sports for $24. Let's make it an ottoman. For the foam for this ottoman, I used a twin-size mattress that I had in my garage. I had bought it for $5 at the auction when I got the glass for my dining room table, and I needed a way to transport the glass home safely. So I bought this twin-size mattress for $5 in order to be able to put underneath the glass on my trailer in order to get the glass home. So I'm unwrapping it. It had a plastic cover on it first. then it had a regular mattress pad cover, and then it had this little thin, you can find a twin size memory foam mattress on Facebook Marketplace or somewhere for this project. That's going to be your cheapest, best bet. Then I just traced around it, and in this part you want to make sure that you for the one cover need to is for the okay how much it's say work look for it. I make few trace out because the then to make and is do so bias of your fabric. You can take a look at that. If they so, and that's it's so easy to take that. So I'd love
So,
to have
like, why
another
do you want
floral
it?
on this. So I need to shop for a floral that I love. But the beauty of this is that it's so easy to take on and off. And I can take it off and just throw it in the washing machine. You know, for an ottoman, that's a really good thing because yeah, you're gonna put your feet up on it and sit on it and eat food on it. I don't like things in my house to be
So almost there, baby. TV's boring me. Standing here is boring me. I want to go lay down and then go to sleep. It's probably like 11. Oh, God, it's only 9:30. Whoa, it's getting dark. All right, well, I'm going to go. I got to charge my watch. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to make this rice pudding. I'm going to get in my bed. I'm going to eat the rice pudding in my bed. Like the absolute monster savage creature that I am. And I'm going to go to sleep. Is this not fucking charged? Are you absolutely bricking my shit? Dude, there are people on the internet who never take off their watches. How? Don't they need to charge? Because these people have like these rashes on their arms where their skin is getting all grody and shit. And that makes me worry big time. I wouldn't want that to happen to my arm.
I didn't mean to cuss in front of you, Laura. I'm sorry. Oh, scandalous. Bon appetit. It's a solid. You can't go wrong with a solid. 10 out of 10. I love that throat braiding sensation. I don't know why some people don't like hospital food. It's good. I like it. Fudge brownie.
Most people get fucking chicken McNuggets or whatever.
This is my favorite. 10 out of 10. This is a good bite.
In the cast iron pan.
When I finish my lunch, what can you bite? I didn't mean to cuss in front of you, Laura. I'm sorry. Oh, scandalous.
How creamy it is. Damn it, Heather. Just make the biggest effing mess ever. Aw, fireworks. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yum. Bone apple titties. Bite. Not a trailer. I live in a big ass house. This is very delicious. Mm-hmm. Wish my kid was here. I should go live on TikTok and see if I can find Nikki. I'm going to bed. What are you doing? Sorry, baby, you can't have this. It's rice. It'll make you sick. I didn't think this was going to work. I was starting to worry that the recipe was AI. I didn't think that the rice would absorb the liquid. But it did. I thought for sure it was going to be crunchy rice or something, but it fucking worked. It is rice pudding. It's just creamy, sweet, salt and cinnamon. My grandma grew up so poor that she like literally had to like sweep the dirt in her front yard. This was one of those poverty meals, desserts. And the cool thing about rice pudding is like when you get sick of it being rice pudding, you add like eggs and some more cream or milk, and then, or we'll soak stale bread in milk and then mix 2 egg yolks, maybe like 1 regular egg, 1 full egg and then 1 extra yolk, and you mix it all together and you bake it in the oven, and then you make yourself like a little bread pudding. It's so good. I really thought that the rice was going to be crunchy. I didn't think that milk could just hydrate the rice enough. I was like, well, you don't have to add like already cooked rice, or like you don't have to add water, like there's just enough water content in the milk to actually do that? Yes, there is. And then what's left over, those solids, make it creamy. Perfect. I thought for sure I was gonna have to add egg to it and, you know, temper the eggs. Because that's how my grandma, I think, did it. But I don't remember. It's been a long time. It's so good. No, I did not sell the bus. I'm like so full. But like it is just so creamy. Plop, plop. I don't know. Is cinnamon okay for dogs? Will cinnamon hurt my dog? Okay. Just want to cool it down a little bit. I think also the starch in the rice helps to make it whatever. Orly. Come here, fat boy. He's a fat boy. He likes fat boy treats. Okay. I'm gonna let this shit cool down a little bit more. This one can go in the fridge now. I'm out. I'm going to bed. Tomorrow I have the really hard day. I have to go to where the bus is. I have to load the last few items that I couldn't fucking get. Plus I have to help Adam take a dump run. I have to go get groceries for my little old lady who lives out there. And I also have to go pick up a steam cleaner from somewhere and a sprayer so that I can spray some poison after I steam clean all of the carpets in her fucking 200-year-old cabin. So tomorrow is going to be a very stressful go gadget day. So I'm going to go to bed. I hope it's charged. Yay! 100%. Perfect. I shut my garage already, right? Let me lock it. I like to make sure my garage door is locked. The back door is locked. Yes. Front door is locked. So yeah, there's my living room. And then dining room, kitchen. Ugh, Money, you're gonna get yourself killed. Go upstairs. Got bathroom. My princess bed. The office. This is the extra bedroom. Elliot's bedroom with his cool loft bed. I got the princess. I got my princess bed. Can't wait to do a huge amount of laundry and finally be able to make the bed completely. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Where's my charger at? It's over there.